All right, everyone, we are live. Welcome to an open mic. Uh, while we're waiting for a few people to come in, I just wanted to welcome everyone to my channel. Please hit the like button down below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So I know Leo Felius is coming in a little bit. I'm not sure who else is going to be coming in. If you want to join the show, there is a link to it in the description, and there is also a link in the sidebar chat down below. Let's see here. Um, Luca, good to see you. Let's see who's in the sidebar chat. I see Creo Debunk. Welcome. Luca, I'm probably going to butcher your last name. I'm sorry. Luca Bedungo. Good to see you. Hi, Gavin. Good to see you as well. Happy Saturday from. So he says, "Happy Saturday afternoon from New Zealand." It is Friday night here. Um, let's see here. What is going on today? So, a couple announcements. So, Standing for Truth and I are planning on having a debate on Neanderthals. That is coming up in the works. I am continuing my series on debunking the messianic prophecies. Um, I am a little bit behind on that series, and I'm hoping to have the second part of that video, the second video for that, up next week. Um, Before we get started, while we're waiting for some people to come in, I do want to take a few moments of silence to. Today is the Transgender Day of Remembrance. So I just wanted to give a brief moment of silence to those who have lost their lives. This is the. I'm reading from ELLE. This is the deadliest year on record for the trans community. Um, and the observance grows out of vigil for Rita Hester, who is a member of the Boston LGBTQ community. Um, there were so many tragic deaths um, over the past over the past year. So just take a quick moment to remember them. All right, let's see. Let's see who's coming in. Right now we have Credo Bunk. Welcome, Credo.
Hi.
How are you today?
Fine, thanks. And you?
I am doing all right.
Okay.
So last night I had a debate with Dr. Anthony Silvestro. You can see that debate on my channel. That was posted just a few hours ago. I did a premiere for that. Let's see here. Erica, welcome. Thank you. It's good to see you in the sidebar chat. So, Credo, any topic you want to talk about?
So you have said we would discuss some Bible prophecies and maybe talk about them and so on.
Yeah, sure. So, let's see who's coming in. Who is this? I have a feeling. P Mars, trying to get in. Sorry, P Mars. Bye. P Mars is in the back trying to get in. Nope, not having him. Sure. So, I guess I'm going to start out with exposing a few dishonest creationists. And really, creationism is foundationally dishonest. And I'm going to show one of the interesting things. Dr. Andrew Snelling, who works for the Dr. Andrew Snelling, who actually does have a legitimate degree, works for the Answers in Genesis ministry. He's a blogger there. They call it the Answers Research Journal. It's not a journal; it is a blog. And don't be confused between an actual journal and a blog. The thing is, Andrew Snelling knows he's a liar. Andrew Snelling knows what he is saying is wrong, and the reason I know, and the reason why I know that is he published in the secular, the quote unquote secular peer-reviewed literature, agreeing with the dates of millions of years. Trying to see if I can pull some of them up. So, anything you want to say while I'm working with this?
Well, okay, as I said, the Snelling also took some other myths from young earth creationists, what was way before him. Some myths can last from 80s or even 70s, and he uses it and do not mention that they are already completely debunking this enough material for that. So this is
Yeah.
also a sign that he is dishonest. Yeah.
No, please stand up. So yeah, I am going to pull this up. Well, the real Dr. Snelling, please stand up. This is from No Answers in Genesis. Share my screen here. Okay, let's pull this in a little bit further. So, will the real Dr. Andrew Snelling please stand up? For several years, Australian creationists representing the Creation Science Foundation, Now Answers in Genesis, have been publishing articles and addressing schools and public groups on the topic of the age of the Earth. The theme of these articles and talks is that there's scientific evidence that the geological features of Australia are explicable within the context of the groups on the age of the Earth. The theme of these articles and talks is that there is scientific evidence that the geological formations of Australia are explicable within the context of an Earth which is only 6 to 10,000 years old, and that much of the features can be seen attributed to a worldwide flood which occurred more recently still. The authors of these claims made them with authority of a BSc, honors in geology and PhD. However, a recently published paper, this same author makes some very different claims about the geological features of the Australian landscape. These remarkably contradictory and unexplained claims by one of the very few Australian creationist scientists to have a genuine scientific qualification calls into question whether anything said by this group on the subject can be taken seriously. There appears to be two geologists living and working and publishing in Australia under the name of Dr. Andrew Snelling. Curiously, both Dr. Snellings use the same address, which they share with an organization called the Creation Science Foundation. But the really strange thing about this is that the views of these two Dr. Snellings on matters such as the age of the Earth and its geological strata are diametrically opposed. This article, the result of my extensive research throughout the literature, highlights this remarkable coincidence and poses some serious questions for the credibility for the Creation Sciences Foundation and for either or both of the Dr. Andrew Snellings. So Snelling 1 for the has been the only prominent Australian creationist with geological qualifications. His credentials are not in question here, only his influence on the science education in Australia. Snelling 1 writes articles for creation journals and lectures throughout the country in school, public meetings, and churches. Although his geological credentials are usually highlighted in creation publication, it would be more accurate to describe Snelling 1 as a Protestant evangelical, not as a geologist. Let's see here. I lost my place. Not as a geologist. Hey, I lost my place. Of CSF's literature openly refers to him as a missionary. So why should Snelling 1's activity concern the scientific and educational community? To appreciate this, one needs to analyze his published articles to see how geological data and discoveries are misused and reinterpreted from a biblical perspective. CSF members are subscribed to a lengthy, very specific statement of faith. Apart from purely religious clauses not relevant here, several clauses carry serious implications for its scientific and educational circles, especially for those in the earth and other historical science, as the extract below reveal. To dedicate creationists, scientific evidence is always subservient to biblical authority. And scrolling down a little bit here, Dr. Snelling. If we return to the scientific articles published by the other Snelling, consulting geologist, we find remarkable contrast in both approach and content. None of them mention the creation or creation week, flood geology, or the need to revamp classic geological timescale. The latest paper by Snelling 2 in 1990 is a detailed technical account of the Koongarra uranium deposits in the Northern Territory. It appears in an authoritative 2-volume work on the geology of the mineral deposits in Australia and Papua New Guinea, published by the Australian Institute of Mining and Melbourne, excuse me. The references list 8 earlier papers by Snelling too, and the reference journal. So the Archean basement consists of domes and granitoids and granite nesses, the nearest outcrops being 5 kilometers to the north. Some of the lowermost overlaying Proterozoic were accredited to the domes, dated at 1870 to 1800 million years ago. Multiple endothelial recovering folding accompanied metamorphism. Translation: the oldest rocks of the kangaroo, or the Kungara area, domes of granitoid and granite genesis are of Archean age that are older than 2,500 million years. The Archean rocks are mantled by the lower Proterozoan. So when Dr. Andrew Snelling does his actual peer-reviewed studies in the actual secular journal, he agrees with the dates of millions and millions of years, which of course is very dishonest. It is quite dishonest to publish in these secular peer-reviewed literature millions and millions of years, but try and refute that in the on his blog posts. So yeah, let's see if we can pull up some of these papers. Yeah, creationism is 100% dishonest. Always has been and always will be.
I heard the info from Aaron Ra about Snelling, and they were told that Snelling talk like if he does it with approach for normal science, he will get normal dates, and from biblical perspective, he must consider the biblical view, but it's definitely contradicting. I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding you.
Oh, no matter.
Let's see here. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see here. This is Dr. Andrew Snelling's lecture, Why I Am a Creationist, from, he published this on Is Genesis History. Let's see, hold on, is this?
As you can tell, our denominational churches.
Sure, so let's see his lecture, Why I'm a Creationist, and see how many lies we can spot.
Okay.
Get this set up.
As you can tell, I speak a little bit differently to the rest of you because I was born and raised in Sydney, Australia. And I was born into a devoutly Christian family, regularly attending a very strong Bible.
Can you make it louder a little bit?
And I remember.
Please. Thanks.
Remember early years of growing up. By the time I was 5, I was expected to sit in church and not fiddle and fool around.
Hey, Jorge, how are you, my friend?
Hello.
Hi.
So right now we're talking about dishonest creationism and dishonest creation. The specific geologist named Dr. Andrew Snelling.
I'm familiar with him, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were here at the beginning when I was talking about. I was reading an article that Dr. Andrew Snelling published and the secular peer-reviewed literature dates that are agreeing with the millions of years and conforming to the scientific consensus while making no mention of flood geology. So, um, I'm just kind of playing his video on why I am a creationist, and we're just going to play a game of how many lies can we spot. So you're the
It's
resident
fine.
geologist. You're the resident geologist here. So if you see something, if you say something that you want to respond to, just let me know.
I give you a shout, sure.
Super.
But pay attention to the preacher, who was a very godly, devoted pastor, devoted to his people and devoted to God's word, and systematically preaching God's word. Also, the older folk in the church mentored the younger folk, and they were very strong in Bible teaching. And so I very quickly had a very good head knowledge of the scriptures. Scripture memorization was stressed and practiced, and so life was good. It was just before my 8th birthday when I went with my older brother off to a holiday camp. It was term break, and our denominational churches had a property out of the city, and they took the kids off for a bit of fun for a week. And it was during that week that, in the midst of all the fun, that God really spoke to me. And so what became head knowledge went to the heart. And I remember vividly on the Friday night, the last evening of the camp, in tears at my bedside with the counselor there, committing my life to the Lord, repenting and seeking his forgiveness. Well, of course, I moved on from there and started systematically reading the scriptures. A year later, we went on a family vacation to Tasmania. Now, Tasmania is the island state of Australia that's off the southeastern coast, and it's a beautiful area. And we were traveling around, and my parents had friends through friends had connections in Queenstown, which is on the on the western side, very rugged area, very famous area for mining. It's copper gold mines, the Peaks of Lyell. A lot of fortunes were made there. And we got access to an area that we visited the mine. We got access to an area of the mine that most visitors don't get to. And we went to the spoil heaps and where some of the ore, that is the economic mineralization, had been dumped, and got the opportunity to start picking things up. And of course, all these bright, shiny rocks and minerals caught my attention. And I started collecting the rocks. And by that time I was moving into the 4th grade, and we'd have our show and tell at school, and I'd bring in my rock collection and start talking about my rocks. And it wasn't long before I knew anything more than anyone else in the class, and even the teacher, about those rocks and minerals. And you know what it's like when you start to know something more than others. It fuels your interest because you're the expert. So by the time I finished the 6th grade in Australia, that's primary school, and moving on into high school, by the time I'd finished in primary school, I was convinced I was going to be a geologist. I had a geological hammer. Actually, I got that very soon after that vacation. I still have that geological hammer now. And so I was really interested in geology. That was what I was going to do. And I remember in the first year at high school, I used to go into the library at lunchtime, and I'd get a big volume on Principles of Physical Geology by Arthur Holmes, and I'd be reading it in the library, and the librarian, got very irate with me. Shouldn't you be out with the other guys in the playground, enjoying the sunshine and fresh air in the breaks? Well, at the end of that school year, I got an academic prize which had a voucher, so I went and bought that book, because he'd thrown me out of the library, so I went and got a copy of it for myself. Actually, it turned out to be the textbook, one of the textbooks we used in first year geology, the geology program that I went into. But it was during those teenage years that I began to realize there was a conflict between what I was reading in the geology textbooks and what I was reading in my Bible. And it was made more complicated by the fact that the church, the Bible-believing church that I was attending, certainly believed that God created, but they'd bought into the gap theory because of the Schofield Reference Bible. And so there was that tension for me, trying to figure out, where do the fossils fit in, and Noah's flood, literal creation, a global flood, but we've got these fossils. And so my parents were, concerned. They saw this struggle going on in my mind as I was.
Hey, Leo, how are you, my friend?
How's it going? I guess I didn't get the notification on YouTube. Oh no, I did get the notification. It just didn't actually put the actual notification there. It's in my YouTube on my phone. Sometimes
Okay.
it'll do it. On YouTube, it like never does it. I don't know why. It's kind of annoying, or it doesn't do it till like
Yeah.
20 minutes later.
Yeah, that's weird. So yeah, what we're doing, I don't know if you caught the first part of it, but we were talking about dishonest creationists, and
So
I
like
brought
all
Dr.
of them.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of started with Dr. Andrew Snelling, who actually does have a respected PhD. And I was pointing out, I was reading an article from No Answers in Genesis that he published in the respected peer-reviewed journals, dates agreeing with the millions and millions of years and with the scientific consensus, but conveniently leaves out any of the younger stuff in those journals. So what we're doing is watching his
Yeah.
lecture of why I am a creationist. I never saw this lecture, so this will be a good idea to kind of, since Orge, our resident geologist, is here, every time you hear him lie, we're just gonna we're just counting the lies. He kind of just gave an introduction, and now he's just kind of getting into the conflict between God and science. So that's kind of what we're doing. So
Right on.
if you want to see, if you want to pause and say anything, just shout whatever.
Right on. I did want to say before we get started that I saw in the premiere of your debate, where I was actually able to see the last about third of it or so, where
Yeah.
I believe it was Andrew that said, when you pointed this out, that he's saying one thing and publishing the exact opposite. So I mean, he's lying. And Andrew's like, well, in what context? And I just wanted to, I really wish I could have been there, because I would have said, well, it would be like if I said, hey, smoking doesn't give you cancer. Smoking can't give you cancer. We don't have any data to show that.
Exactly.
But then everything that I publish is talking about exactly that. So it would be, in what context is that not lying?
Exactly. And we're going to kind of look a little bit more into this lecture, why I am a creationist. So let's just go on.
I was voraciously reading everything I could get my hands on. And so my mother went into downtown Sydney to the Christian bookstore and talked to the bookstore owner. And you know what I'm going to say next, don't you? My mother talked to him about her son, and he said, well, I've just got the book your son needs. And of course, he went to the shelf and he pulls down a copy of the Genesis Flood by Drs. Whitcomb and Morris. Well, when I read that, all the pieces of the puzzle fitted together. And I got really excited, because here I had confirmation that the evidence in God's world definitely fitted with what I read in God's word. And that really set the trajectory, because unlike other guys in my high school years, a lot of young men find it difficult to figure out what they're going to do with their lives when they get to their senior high school years. I already knew. In fact, in the 2 senior years, we could do upper level science, and we could actually do a major in one of the disciplines of science, and they were offering physics and chemistry, geology and biology, and very few schools offered geology. And the high school that I was at was a public high school. Was all boys, only boys. It was a boys' high school. I think they figured that it would keep the boys focused on their studies rather than on the girls. But I said to the science master, the head of the science department, I said, I want to do geology. Oh, come on, we'd never get anyone else to study geology. And I kept on persisting. He said, look, I'll do it. I'll make a deal with you. If you can get together a number of others to study geology with you, we'll put on a geology class. Well, we ended up with the second largest group in the senior high school to do geology. We had the biology and the geologists were the biggest groups ahead of the chemists and the physicists. And
Woot woot.
the teacher that got assigned to teach the geology program in that second last year at high.
Did you want to say something, Leo?
No, he just said that his subject that he was in.
I thought you were signaling for me to pause real quick, but okay.
He just said that the physics and chemistry is more important. I was just like, woot woot, you goddamn right. Obviously, I'm being a little facetious.
High school, he got so switched on by geology. At the time there was a mining boom in Australia. He quit his teacher's job and went out off as a mine geologist. Then the next teacher that came on, he was a Christian. And he went to a church and he encouraged me. And at the same time, I was playing cricket. Yes, that's a national sport in Australia, with the son of a geology professor at one of the universities in Sydney. And so I met the geology professor. I'd go to his home. They didn't live too far from us. And it was a natural progression that I'd go to that university and study under him, which I did. So by the time I got to university, I was very convinced of the truth of God's word, how you could fit the pieces of the puzzle together. And I had a definite sense that this is the direction that the Lord wanted me to go in. By the time I finished my undergraduate program, and in Australia, you actually can do a fourth year. You can do a 3-year undergraduate program, majoring in geology, and you do a fourth year, and you do a field project, and you write a dissertation, you do an investigation, you spend a whole semester doing a research project, and if your grade is high enough, when you graduate, it's like a master's degree, you're ready to go into a PhD program. During the summer vacations, when I was an undergraduate, because of the connection with that job, I was aware of Henry Morris, of course. I'd go to the Christian bookstore and get everything I could on the subject and was reading. I'd even try to get books directly from the US if they weren't in the store. And so by the time I finished my undergraduate program, I was convinced that the Lord wanted me to be talking about this issue and teaching about this issue and researching the issue of creation and the flood. The only person I knew, of course, was someone like Henry Morris. At that stage, he was starting off his creation research, and there was no one in Australia that I knew that thought the way I did. I thought I was the only one around. So I had a choice by the time I finished my undergraduate program. I had a choice to I had an offer of a job from a mining company, which was pretty lucrative, or I had an offer of a government scholarship. We had government scholarships in those days that provided for your tuition in a PhD program as well as a living allowance. And so I sought counsel, and I talked to pastors. I talked to my former high school teacher that taught me the last year of geology. And everyone said, look, if this is the way you feel the Lord is leading you, then you really need to do the PhD. So I enrolled in the PhD program. And in the first year of that PhD program, Dwayne Gish came to our campus. And so I made the connection, and then also the connection directly with Henry Morris.
I guess I'll jump in and say,
and others who I found were talking about these issues as well.
Yeah, everything he's saying is kind of par for the course. He's taking forever, but nothing he's saying so far is weird. He's just kind of a boring speaker.
Yeah, exactly. He's not really talking. He didn't really say anything about the science that really I was really hoping he would actually dive into some of the science that actually convinced him, and
I'm
the
going
only
to be
thing.
honest.
What was
I
that?
don't think it, I said I'm going to be honest. I seriously doubt the science convinced him.
Yeah,
Anybody
it
who
was-
says the science convinced him already believed and is just sort of piggybacking on their misconceptions of science, claiming that's what convinced them so that they can seem reasonable in their belief. But I did also want to mention, I find it funny that he mentioned Dwayne Gish,
Yeah.
who
Oh,
the
yeah.
fallacy of Gish galloping is named
Yeah.
after.
Yes, Gallopin. He and Kent Hovind are the king of Gish Gallops.
Yes.
By the way, let's see here.
I did want to say for Otangelo in the chat, if you want to know what an icky taint is, I'm not going to tell you just out of respect. I would just as Orga said, Google taint if you dare. It's not like that bad, but it's slightly inappropriate, I guess one could say.
Yeah. All right, let's continue. Once we finish this, I have a juicy paper to share with you guys.
Ooh.
Also, before you continue, Richard Madsen wanted to talk to me at 9:30, but he hasn't gotten in contact with me yet. So if he does get in contact with me, I might have to leave. I'll just let you know.
All right, cool. Thank you. And if you
Yep.
have to leave, feel free to. Don't worry about it. So yeah, I have a juicy paper to show after this.
Why did I become a firm creationist through all of this? And the rest is history in a sense. Why was I firm creationist? Well, first of all, I was born and raised and steeped in the scriptures right from the beginning. I had an early time when I came to the Lord. I had a church that nurtured me in the ways of the Lord and was very strong on gospel proclamation and keeping the focus where it ought to be, that the scriptures were supremely about Jesus Christ, and the focal point was that people needed to come to faith. You could convince people in a sense by the truth of the scriptures. You convince them to be creationists in that sense, but unless they met the Creator, they were going to go to hell like anyone else. And so that's why I was very passionate, became very passionate about these issues, because I could see that just as it had been a difficulty in my life where I could have easily have bought into millions of years and then deviate into evolution. Why did I mention that high school teacher? Well, I didn't have much contact with him for many, many years after I left. And it was only about 7 years ago, I actually got an email from him. He wasn't, by that stage, we were living in Brisbane and he wasn't living far away from us to the south of Brisbane. And it was very, very sad because, you see, he'd bought into theistic evolution. He'd been a deacon in a Baptist church.
Oh yeah, the ad hominem coming about his teacher saying it's sad that he bought into the millions of years of theistic evolution. Hi.
On the board of developing a Christian school, he told me in his email, but he'd walked away from it all. He'd given up his Christian faith. He was virtually left his wife and family and was virtually living the life of a hippie. And when he wrote to me, he was, trying to tell me, the whole thing was foolish. I should give it up. And I think that illustrates why I get passionate about this issue, simply because it's a dividing point that people either choose the way of the world or to stay true to God's word, beginning in Genesis, but also focused on who Jesus Christ is. And that's why I got involved in creation ministry organization, simply because the very focal point is, yes, we're doing the scientific research. Yes, we're trying to think God's thoughts after him. But at the same time, we're trying to elevate Jesus Christ so that when he is elevated, he will draw all men to him. And
Yeah, that's
that's what's so important.
He's rolling off
Not
a bunch of
Me,
he's rolling off a bunch of the classics, you know. Oh, you gotta believe in young Earth in order
Yeah.
to, you know, that's all bunk. Obviously,
Exactly.
there's plenty of
Yeah,
Christians
the
out there
standard
that don't have an
teaching.
issue with it that just don't care, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing is telling the story of his high school teacher becoming hippie and all, like just using that as a diving board to get into this is why it's important to believe in thousands of years and not billions of years. But anyway, let's continue.
not about us, it's about Jesus Christ as the creator. And the importance is that I'm a creationist because he was a creationist, and we need to be able
What?
to point people to him, to his word, the truth of his word, defend it to the hilt, but never.
Did you say something, Leo?
Oh, yeah, I was just rhetorically saying what to him,
Okay.
claiming that Jesus was a creationist. Like, you don't know that.
Forget to tell them that they need to. It's not just a matter of the knowledge here in the head; it's also the heart. They need to ultimately submit to him as the Lord of the universe and seek forgiveness and repentance and come to faith with him in him. So that's why I'm a creationist. I look back and realize that it's all about him. There's been many turns in the road along the way, and I can look back at times in the past when I thought the bottom of my world had fallen.
So I will say I think it's very important that nothing about his view of creationism comes from any actual young Earth evidence at all, right? He didn't say a single thing about I looked at this fossil record, I looked at this biology, I looked at this XYZ, and that's why I'm a creationist. It's creationist
And
There
exactly.
was nothing about geology.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
creation because his upbringing and Dr. Morris and all that. He didn't bring one piece of scientific evidence anywhere in that literature, in that whole entire speech. But it gets worse. I'm going to share something with you. You're going to love this. This is Dr. Andrew Snelling's PhD thesis. I'm going to try and load this up as big as I can for you guys.
It's very readable, yes.
Okay, good. So, background description prepared for this is Snelling, extracts his Snelling PhD thesis. If I plug in, I did a command F, millions of years, here we go. These movements of groundwater responsible for oxidation, hydration, and solidification of pitch blends at depths and for contemporaneous chloride production. Contemporaneous, thank you. Thank you for that. Chloride production have apparently been active for over 350,000 years. Let's play a game. One of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong.
One of these things just doesn't belong here.
Then you guess which thing that's not like the other by the time I finish this song. So, yeah. Over 350,000 years, as this is approximate age of the leading age of the secondary dispersion fan. However, the alteration process probably began at a depth well before this. Removal of cover rocks, particularly in the sandstone.
Sandstone.
Yeah, it's estimated to have, yeah, I'm terrible at pronouncing things. You're just going to have to forgive me. It's estimated to have taken place well in excess of 1 million years before present, ample time for alteration of the observed at depths to be produced.
Yeah,
So-
this is a bog standard looking right PhD assertion. If he's been a diehard Christian, dyed in the wall young earther since he was 4 years old or whatever he said,
Yeah,
yeah, this is obviously something a young earther would. I mean, it's not just that he's saying it in order to pass by. The sentence you just said was those millions of years are required for this to happen.
right, exactly. So either he's he knows what he's saying is bullshit. He knows he is lying, and the evidence that he is lying is that he's published in the peer-reviewed literature saying these things. And I find this just to be so entirely dishonest.
100%. The thing is that whether he actually believes that the Earth is 6,000 years old, or he actually believes what he wrote in his thesis, it doesn't matter which one he says he actually believes, because in either instance, he's
Yeah.
lying about the other inherently.
Right. Right, exactly. If he's doing it to get his thesis, he's lying to the university that's giving him his PhD thesis. It's like if I were to write a PhD thesis using your analogy of why of how smoking causes cancer, and then but I don't really believe what I'm writing, I'm lying to the university. It's academic dishonesty.
Yeah. And another thing that Andrew was trying to do in your guys' discussion was he kept trying to put secular science on the same footing as pseudoscience, claiming, well, you don't think that on your side there's all this lying, and it's like, no, that there isn't, because these people
Yes, the
understand
claim always that
if they engage with that or in that, they lose any academic credibility, and
Right.
then they're rebuked by their field and probably won't get published again.
Yeah, but I mean, even if he does go back to doing authentic research, it's hard for me to imagine he will get published because of how dishonest he's obviously been.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of find his story kind of sad, just because he knows what he's saying is wrong, but he says it anyway, which is a lie.
Is he employed by any apologetics ministry or anything?
I'm pretty sure he's for ICR, isn't he?
Yeah, from the last I checked, he's the lead publisher of the Answers in Genesis journal. In Genesis.
Well,
Sure.
then we
He's
know.
a big figure there.
Okay.
Here, and I'm sure I don't know what they pay, but I'm sure ICR and Answers to Genesis pay more than a $30,000 field research would pay.
Oh, I'm sure. That's what I was going to say is, well, we know why he's lying, because it wouldn't surprise me if he was making six figures. That's the thing about these apologetics ministries and these creationist ministries, is that they pay well because they know they have to corrupt these actual professionals into believing the bullshit they know is bullshit.
Yeah, like Dr.
Not believing it, but peddling it, I should say.
Yeah, exactly. Like Dr. Jensen, who has a PhD from Harvard University, for crying out loud, and he's publishing for Answers in Genesis instead of actually, doing real science. But and from the Answers to Skeptics Claim. So yeah, Dr. Andrew Snelling is the editor of the Answers in Genesis journal, and I use air quotes for journal because it's not a journal; it's a pseudoscience peddling for bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, it's, the vast majority of research scientists out there in academia have a publish or perish philosophy going on. You need to constantly be putting stuff out, and it needs to constantly be interesting, right? Lots and lots of publications try to be published. So lots of papers try to be published. They don't all get there, even in smaller, more intricate journals. So if this guy can land a job, then he can land a job where he doesn't really have to try very hard to get his papers, quote unquote, published. Yeah. And he gets his money on top of that, hey, more power to him, I guess.
Yeah. I wonder how rigorous their peer review process is. I wonder if they've ever rejected a paper.
Spell check. Spell check is about the extent of the peer review.
Yeah. Let's see here. Remember, a while back ago, I don't think he has a PhD, but Tompkins actually published a paper claiming that humans and chimps are only 78% similar. And that paper was exposed to be flawed.
Yes, it's wrong.
Yeah, it was completely wrong due to the computer program, and the methodology was wrong. And he was actually forced to revise it later on. And in any respected peer-reviewed journal, such an error would be enough to warrant a full retraction. But they never retracted it. It's still on there. Yeah, I don't think Answers in Genesis or any creation research organization has ever retracted a paper.
Of course not. What incentive do they have to? They're not held to any reasonable level of credibility to begin with, so it doesn't matter.
And their stuff's not used by anyone.
Exactly.
I've yet to hear a single creationist describe a breakthrough or process or any data point that they have found that has then been useful for any industry.
Yeah, and that's kind of the point that I was trying to make last night with Anthony, is that if you want to replace science, you have to have a model, and the model has to explain our observations and data better than the currently accepted model, and that model also has to make novel testable predictions that come true and create them. The only model he has is in the beginning, so all is abracadabra magic. That's all what creationists have is magic.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
and they do not care about contradictions that have between other creationists. So
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like friends, and do not mention that, for example, some creationists claim that water at the end of the flood was flown in opposite direction, and for example, Kurt Weiss claims that water was constantly flow in one direction by the moon or some bullshit, and it is perfectly fine that this stuff is contradictory.
Yeah.
There is many infos about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Who the fuck? Somebody
Yeah.
wrote about that
It is
specifically.
Kurt Weiss
that-
and
that-
Walter Scheidt, and I don't know. So a lot
Yeah.
of guys there.
Yep.
An example of that from this morning, that interview with that creationist on Standing's channel.
Yeah.
I think Neff, you were there.
what was
Yeah,
that guy's name?
you're the one who summoned me.
Yeah, exactly, right. He told a story about helping some Nigerian geologist find oil, and he said he was able to do that because he's a young Earth creationist, but he didn't say how being a young Earth creationist helped him find these oil reservoirs. He just said, I looked at a map, I pointed stuff out, and I guess I found oil. What the hell does the Bible have to do with that?
Yeah.
Maybe magic helped him.
Yeah. Well, actually, Jorge, that's a good point. Since you're the resident geologist here, how exactly do?
David McQueen.
geologists-
that's his name.
Yeah. What was that?
Yeah,
Dave-
David McQueen, thank you.
Yeah. Sure. How exactly do geologists go about finding oil?
Yes,
Well,
it's a good question.
I've never been. I'm not an exploration or geophysicist or anything, but majority of what David McQueen said in his interview was essentially your introduction to geology texts. Stuff about structural geology, bending and folding of layers to create pockets for oil to sit in. That stuff's all true, right? Use geophysical methods, what have you. But they seem to have this gumption about hating dating methods. But they keep talking about marker fossils. What the hell do you think the fossils are marking? They're marking the age of the rocks. I mean, it's so weird.
Let's see here. I'm gonna Google this guy, David McQueen.
Yeah, I think
wrote
I wanted to ask some.
Does
he-
he have a PhD anywhere?
He has a
hold on.
master's.
Yeah, I was going to say, it says here that he has a BA in geology from the University of Tennessee and an MS in geology from the University of Michigan, and that he taught college geology at George Mason University, Virginia State University, East Tennessee State University, and the Institute for Creation Research's graduate school.
Yeah. So David McQueen. I wonder if we can find his thesis. I wonder what we can. Because obviously, if he has a master's, he has to have a master's thesis. So I wonder if we can dig that up.
I'm sure you could.
Yeah. How would you go about finding a thesis anyway?
You can look them up in Google Scholar.
Yeah, it's Google Scholar. Let's see here. That's a facetious question.
David Ralph McQueen, Institute for Creation Research, 1986. The Chemistry of Oil Explained by Flood Geology. 0 reviews.
Well,
David Ralph.
I don't know if they answered.
Physics.
He said, I think he has some weird human DNA and oil philosophy, because he believes the oil is all the dead people that died during the flood, like the humans. That's what created the oil.
Yeah.
And then he thinks there's human blood and oil, and he can prove it. Just wild. I don't know how you.
That is new bullshit.
Yeah, exactly, right.
Yeah. Where is his master's from?
I
MS,
found his thesis.
Oh boy, bring that up for us.
1979. Kinematics of experimentally produced deformation bands in stibnite.
Sure. Can you put that? Can you put that in the private chat? And
Yeah, give me a second. I'm trying to see what the fuck is.
yeah.
Yeah, that title sounds completely legit.
Yeah.
So wait, it
Put it
just
in the. I love how easy it is to be able to.
well,
the-
that's not gonna work. Let
Um,
me fucking open it. Okay, so
Leo, can you put in the link?
yeah, I'm trying to find an actual link to it instead of just it talking about it on a website.
Yeah.
Because I don't have a University of Michigan account to open it up, so you wouldn't be able to actually read it. Let me just copy paste the title and see what I can find.
Yeah.
Motherfucking goddamn mice don't ever want to work properly. Why didn't I just do this? You son of a bitch. Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh boy.
Here we go. Maybe. Possibly. Okay, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, so Science Direct is going to put it behind a fucking paywall, like I guess every fucking buddy does. If I was ever in a position of power to do so, I would make it illegal to put research behind a paywall.
Same here, especially because
sorry,
it's funded by, especially because it's funded by. But I'm gonna do this. I found it on Science Direct.
So did I, but it's just the abstract.
So yeah, I'm gonna do the scihub.st, see if I can pull it up that way.
Do we know when he actually became a creationist?
Wait, no, actually, here we go. I have the whole entire thesis published. Here's his thesis
Beat you to it, Leo.
Nice.
this year. Yeah, this year. Doesn't say any. Doesn't seem to have any dates in it.
The formation,
Just a quick.
Received November 29th, 1970. Wow, he got his master's a while ago,
it's
didn't he?
pretty long.
He's an old dude, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any dates in here.
Do any of you have some weird lady looking waving at you on the website?
Yes.
Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
Okay, good.
So, I mean, it is 27 pages. Oh,
yeah. I did a command F, command C, and command F. I didn't find anything saying million or billion or anything like that. Here doesn't appear anywhere. So nothing there. Here's caller. Google.com. Let's see here. Let's kind of dig him up. Yeah, it's something. Here. Yeah, I don't think he's ever published in an actual peer-reviewed journal other than his thesis. I see a bunch of ICR stuff, but I don't see anything in the respected peer-reviewed journal. But yeah, anyway, I guess moving on from there. Danny Faulkner is a pretty interesting guy. So, Leo, do you know anything about this Dr. Liesel thing that?
Oh, Jason, I'm assuming it's Lisley. I don't fucking know. All I know is when I search his name, I get Dr. Jason Lisley, Answers in Genesis, Dr. Lisley, Biblical Science Institute. Let me go see here. I mean, he is an astrophysicist. He earned his PhD in astrophysics from the University of Colorado Boulder.
I'm actually going to apply there. I hear it's a really good college.
He has worked at
Hey,
Answers of Genesis,
Boulder's
the
very good.
Institute for Creation Research, and is the founder of the Biblical Science Institute. I'd love to have a conversation with him.
Yeah, Jason Lazel.
His thesis was probing the dynamics of solar supergranulation and its interactions with magnetism.
You'll know more about that than me.
That sounds fun.
Need to read it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what the title means is they're trying to figure out the structure, I guess the text. What's the word? It wouldn't be textural. That's not what the word is for referring to texture. I don't know what it is of the surface of the sun and how that affects the magnetism of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that weird like popcorn
Looking,
texture on the photosphere, not photosphere. Whatever the outside layer
I
is.
guess you could consider it the photosphere because the photosphere is where the photons are actually released, which is what we consider to be the surface of the sun.
Yeah,
Since
that
Yeah.
layer.
Yeah.
That looks like kind of melted butter.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, I found a lecture by him. Let's watch it. And so we're probably not going to get through it all in one night.
Lizzle? I'm
Yeah.
assuming it's probably Lisley.
Yeah,
I could be wrong though.
Lizel, whatever it is. Secret Code of Creation. Let's see here. Let's have some fun with this. I guess we'll do the same thing.
What's the lecture about? Particular.
It's called The Secret Code of Creation, Dr. Jason Lisley. So I have no idea what that fucking means. That is a that is what's called a word salad. Let's just have some fun.
I
If you
think
have-
that there will be the same stuff as.
Yeah, let's have some fun with this.
Okay.
Leo, you're the resident astrophysicist, so
Quote unquote.
the quote unquote astrophysicist. So let me know if you spot anything wrong.
Oh, it's recent. That's good.
Men's seminar.
So there was a movie a number of years ago, National Treasure, where Nicolas Cage goes and finds a secret message on the back of the Declaration of Independence. And that implied that there were some really intelligent people that had figured out how to encode that message and so on. What if there was a secret code built into math, built into numbers 1, 2, 3, 4? What if we discovered a secret code built into that? What would
This
that-
is numerology.
Oh my god! I feel like this is going to be a good comedy show.
That would be really weird considering humans invented numbers and math.
Yeah, exactly. We literally invented it out of necessity.
imply? That would be fascinating, wouldn't it? Because that would imply that numbers themselves have a creator,
Well, no
and a
shit.
very intelligent one. If we found a
Yeah. Well, humans are fairly intelligent. and
Yeah,
they
exactly.
created numbers.
Yeah, exactly. The number 0 wasn't invented until like almost the 1st century
Yeah.
BCE,
Yes.
and it was Sir Isaac Newton that fucking invented calculus. So yeah, we are the intelligent dudes. I
And
know.
I believe that we humans used, it was either base 8 or base 12 number system for the longest time before we
Bro,
utilized base
the
10.
Roman number system is what, base 5, I think?
Yeah, and the ancient Sumerians and all, I think were base 60.
Yeah.
Yeah,
base
base
60.
Yeah. Roman numerals are base 5, so yeah.
I think that we know that mainly because the way we measure time is still in like a base 60. You know, there's
Yeah,
60
exactly.
minutes, 60 seconds, in a
Yep,
minute,
yep,
60
yep.
minutes, and then yeah.
Yeah, 60, 66.
Isn't the I Chang, isn't that like base 100 or something like that?
Something like that.
Something
But yeah,
ridiculous.
This shows that there's different modes of arithmetic, different structures of math. It's
Exactly.
Yeah, and then there was more than one way to skin the cat.
Yep.
All right, let's just continue.
message built into numbers. And in fact, there is a code built into numbers. And it's absolutely amazing. It's mind blowing. And this was discovered in the 1980s. So this is relatively recent. People have been using numbers for thousands of years, but it wasn't until the 1980s that we discovered there is a code built into numbers. And I want to share that with you today because it's neat. This is something that I read about when I was young, and it just blew my mind, and I want to share it with you because we don't tend to often think about God creating numbers. We think about God creating the earth and the stars and the initial organisms on the earth, but God is also responsible for numbers.
Nope.
Not that he created them in the same way, because they're not physical, right? Numbers are abstract, they're conceptual, they exist in the mind. And yet God is responsible for numbers, and he has embedded in numbers an amazing code of unbelievable complexity and beauty. And I think it's going to be mind-blowing to you. It's really going to be mind-blowing. When I was a little kid,
I hate how these people start
my
their
mother prepared these
lectures
wonderful-
just jerking off. Amazing, mind-blowing, amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah,
So,
these are
Yes, and says nothing.
I call these the creationist buzzwords. The buzzwords.
Yeah.
of
You
creationism.
guys are getting it wrong. You got to say it like Jesse Lee Peterson. Amazing.
Wow. Yeah. Miracle. Okay. I have a feeling this is going to be a fun thing to
Oh
That's-
yeah.
reports. This introduction is already going to be a show that this is going to be delicious.
meals. She's a very good cook. But occasionally she'd prepare something I didn't like broccoli. Ooh.
Wow. Broccoli's
And the
good.
rule was you had to eat everything on your plate before you're dismissed, right? So occasionally, in rare moments of maturity, I would eat the broccoli first, get it out of the way, so that I could then enjoy the rest of the meal. See what I'm saying? Well, in light of that, we're going to do some broccoli first, okay? But stay with me because it's going to get really cool. Okay, so we're going to have to talk about sets. We're going to have to do a little bit of math here. And you'll see a set is just a collection of elements with a common defined property. And so when we're talking
That's
about
right.
sets of numbers, a set of numbers is just numbers that have something in common with each other. And you can define sets lots of different ways. In most sets, some numbers are included and other numbers are excluded. So we're all about sets today. And for example, consider the set of even numbers. So we got some numbers there. The set of even numbers would contain those ones, and it would exclude all the others, right? Because numbers that are divisible by 2, evenly divisible by 2. We could then consider the set of negative numbers. That's a different set. Set of negative numbers is a different set, and so it will have different numbers contained within it. It'll have those ones, and it will exclude the others. And those two sets are very easy because you can tell just by looking at the number whether or not it belongs to the set, can't you? Even, well, does it end in 0, 2, 4, 6, 8? Well, yeah, it belongs. Or is it a negative number? Well, you just look and see if there's a little negative sign in front of it. It's pretty easy. We're going to talk about a set that's a little bit more complex, where you can't tell just by looking at the number whether or not it belongs. You're going to have to think about it a little bit. You can figure whether the number belongs, but not just by looking at it. And the set we're going to talk about is called the Mandelbrot set. The Mandelbrot set, named after Benoit Mandelbrot, mathematician, very famous mathematician. And it's defined by this little formula that you see there. And C is the number that you're checking to see if it belongs to the Mandelbrot set. So that's what C is. And Z is another number that, in fact, there's many different Z's. That's why it has a little subscript N next to it. So there's a first Z, a second Z, a third Z, and fourth Z. You can think of them like a sequence of mailboxes. Each one's got a number in it. And if that Z sequence gets bigger and bigger and bigger, then that means C is not part of the Mandelbrot set. Whereas if the sequence of Z stays small, then C is part of the Mandelbrot set. That sounds very complicated. It's actually very simple. And we'll do a couple, and then you'll see how intuitive it is. It's really quite simple. So there's our little formula. Z, and by the way, Zn plus 1, that means that's the next mailbox. That's the next value of Z. And so it depends on the previous value and the number C. So we're going to ask, is the number 1 part of the Mandelbrot set? So that means C equals 1, because C is the number we're checking to see if it belongs to the Mandelbrot set. So we're going to plug that in. You can see we're plugging that in for C there. So Z squared plus 1 is the next value of Z. Now, the first value of Z is always 0. That's just part of the definition. So the first value is 0. We're going to plug that in. So you have 0 squared, which is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 is 1. Yes. See, this isn't that hard. It really isn't. And so that's our new value of Z. Now we're going to plug that back in like this. Now we have 1 squared, which is 1, plus 1 is 2. Very good. Even the Common Core folks are getting this. Okay. All right. We're going to put that back in. So we have now 2 squared, which is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay. Put it back in. 5 squared is 25, plus 1 is 26. Put that back in. 26 squared. Oh, okay. Getting a little hard, isn't it? Okay.
Okay, it
But we
doesn't.
don't have to do any more. You can see what's happening. Is Z staying small? No, it's getting big. It's getting very big, very fast. So is the number 1 part of the Mandelbrot set? Answer is no. No, because it has the sequence of Z has to stay small for C to be a member of the Mandelbrot set. So number 1 is not part of the Mandelbrot set. Let's check another one. Let's check -1. Is -1 part of the Mandelbrot set? So we're going to plug that in now. So we have Z squared minus 1 is the new value of Z, right?
Can we skip ahead
And
a little
we'll-
bit?
and
I
again,
don't
we'll
need
start
him
Z
explaining
equals 0.
Mandelbrot.
And we'll plug that in.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
maybe
I-
it's
He's gonna
just me,
define
but
it complex digits.
Yeah, I have literally no idea what he's trying to get in here.
I'm assuming he's
Then we have
probably
0.
getting at some implicit pattern that we can recognize in the Mandelbrot set.
Yeah,
Yeah, just like, you know, Euler's formula or the what is it, the golden ratio, all that stuff, which are patterns that naturally fall out of the structure we have in mathematics. They weren't
Right.
written into it by some supervenient intelligence. They're just patterns that
but
naturally fall out of our
seashells.
Yes, he's gonna bind in some
Seashells and mollusks.
Yeah, seashells, mollusks, flowers, galaxies.
Yes.
Everything.
Structure of the universe or something like that.
0 squared,
just
which is 0
skip ahead
minus
by, like,
1
a couple
is
minutes or so. That'd be a good
-1,
spot.
right? And we plug that back in.
Like 8
The
or 9.
imaginary part is their y coordinate.
I gotta skip ahead a little
And so
bit.
this is very useful in mathematics to talk
he
about
did
these
define
complex
complex
numbers,
digits.
because even though it's one number, you can represent it as a point on a plane.
Well, no
And
shit.
that's kind of neat. So you can actually make some graphs and things that way.
Okay,
so
so it's valid.
those are
not
complex
like-
numbers and imaginary numbers. They're off axis. And what we're going to do then is make a map of the Mandelbrot set, because it was kind of tedious going through that and checking that, but computers are great at doing tedious things. They can do math very quickly over and over. And what we'll do is we'll make a map of which points belong to the Mandelbrot set and which points don't. And that way we won't have to run through that formula. We can just look at the map then and say, okay,
David.
that number it
Yeah.
does belong and that number
Mute
doesn't.
yourself.
So for example, numbers that do belong to the Mandelbrot set,
There
we'll
you
color those black. We checked -1. We found it did belong to the Mandelbrot set, right? Because Z remains small, right? And if we checked 0, we'd find it also belongs to the Mandelbrot set. If we checked other points, we'd find that all these points belong to the Mandelbrot set as well, just as examples, had we checked them. And then for points that do not belong to the Mandelbrot set, we'll color those red. Okay, and we checked 1. Remember, we found that 1, the sequence of Z got really big. And so that means it's not part of the Mandelbrot set. And had we checked some of these other, we have the computer check more and more points, we get a complete map of the Mandelbrot set. And the map that we get looks like this. It's surprisingly complicated and rather beautiful. And so, again, what we're having here is just a map of which points belong. Black means they belong to the Mandelbrot set. Color means they don't. And I shaded the colors so that if the sequence of Z gets really big really fast, I made it kind of a dark color. So the points that are real far away from the Mandelbrot set. Whereas if Z gets big, but it does so slowly, then I colored it like a brighter color, like yellow. So the points that don't belong. The next one to the left, it branches off into 5. Can you count that, including the trunk? Nobody was expecting that. Fascinating. So all that built into a map of which points belong to that simple little formula, Z squared plus C. One of the most remarkable things about the Mandelbrot set, though, concerns this little spike that we have growing off the left of the set there. And you'll notice that that spike has a little black bump on the end of it. What could that be? Well, let's zoom in on that and see what that looks like, that little bump.
Yes, it's more
Turns
like-
out it's another Mandelbrot set. Isn't that fascinating? And it's almost identical
Yeah.
to the original. It's got the main cardioid, the circles growing off of it. The only difference is it's got extra spikes growing off of it. We zoomed in on a spike, and the baby version had extra spikes growing off of it. And if you'll notice, one of those spikes, the one at the very end, has a little black. And it's not
It's-
just the overall shape that repeats infinitely. If you zoom in on any part of the Mandelbrot set, it goes forever. And it's quite fascinating to see this. You might think, well, it's going to end at some point. I'm just going to keep zooming in until it stops, but it just doesn't stop. No matter what you zoom in on, it just keeps fragmenting and keeps fragmenting, smaller and smaller scales. It's not like the physical universe. The physical universe eventually get down to
Well, of
atoms.
course.
There's no atoms here. This is made of math.
Yeah, math is abstract. In infinite is an abstract concept. That's all this demonstrates.
Yeah,
This is not-
Yes, it discusses by natural laws. That
this is not esoteric. What he's showing us, he's trying to show us some sort of like esoteric. matter.
Hey, Sal, how are you, my friend?
Hi, Sal.
hey, Sal.
Hey, Sal, how you doing
Greetings.
today? Hey, Sal, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate you coming on.
How's it going?
Really well. How you doing, Sal?
You're muted.
Oh, a little tired, but thank you for the open mic. And
Sure. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Sal. Are
wanted to hang
you
out.
are you a Bible numerology friend? Do you like biblical numerology?
No,
Yeah.
Oh, shucks.
Oh, well.
sorry.
So- Yeah. We're just kind of commenting on Dr. Wisely's presentation here. Just having a little bit of fun. Let's see here. Let's just continue.
Okay. And so it goes
Uh,
on.
have we met
literally
before?
forever.
How do I
Fascinating.
pronounce
And of
your
course,
name?
Well,
Me?
we'd be here all day if we zoom.
Org? Org?
I don't know if we've met, but I've seen a couple of your talks and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're gay. We call him Orgay and Leophilius.
Okay, thank you.
Leophilius, yep. We call him Leo, though. Yep. Um,
in on the whole thing, right? Because we would literally take forever, but it's quite fascinating. One of the interesting regions in which we can zoom in on the Mandelbrot set is the valley between the main cardioid and the first disc, that big circle that's growing off to the left of the cardioid. That valley, if we zoom in on it, either the top or the bottom, they're symmetric. If we zoom in on that, it's called the Valley of the Seahorses. And you can see it looks like seahorses off to the right. They're upside down. And double spirals off to the left. So we can zoom in on those shapes and see what they look like. So let's zoom in on one of those seahorses and see what that looks like here. And by the way, the colors are arbitrary, so we'll change those every now and then just to keep things interesting. But bright colors mean close to the Mandelbrot set, but not quite on it. Dark colors mean far away from the Mandelbrot set, and black means it's on the Mandelbrot set. So we zoom in on one of these seahorses. Now, keep in mind, all you're looking at is the plot of an equation. It's the equation z squared plus c, and which points belong to that. And what you have, given that seahorse is very brightly colored, that means that those points are very close to being on the Mandelbrot set, which means there must be actually a very thin black thread that extends away from that circle that wiggles around it's incredibly wiggly. In fact, it's infinitely wiggly, if that makes any sense. It's as wiggly as is possible for 2 dimensions. And it wiggles around, and what you're seeing there is the black is too thin for the computer to plot it. But the fact that it's you're seeing bright blue there indicates that those points are very close to being on the Mandelbrot set. So that seahorse is made of an infinitely wiggly thread or multiple threads that wrap around and form kind of a spider web structure there in the middle. Quite beautiful, and they form a beautiful spiral up near the top. Isn't that stunning? And who would have expected that such beauty would be built into a map of the Mandelbrot set?
Me?
It's absolutely fascinating. So let's zoom in a little bit more and see what that
Hey,
spiderweb
Nath,
structure
if you could
looks
pause,
like.
please. Thanks. I don't know if
Yeah,
you
sure.
guys are aware. I think it was Numberphile did a video on translating songs into graphs, like coding different songs and stuff as
Yeah, Archangelo, you have some sound problems. Archangelo, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're really muffled, and there's like
Yeah.
sounds like an air conditioner is running.
Yeah, hold on. Why don't you try this?
Didn't work.
Go back out and coming back in. Yeah, I'm not listening. Do that thing the whole night.
but yeah, if you guys get a chance, I think it's Numberphile did the video, and it's really cool how they're able to like take any song or any sequence really, and then like turn it into a graph and turn that graph like into a equation and stuff like that. It's pretty cool. So
There was something else I wanted to mention because he seems to be getting at how it's beautiful that you could just keep zooming in infinitely and keep getting these same repeating patterns when you map this on a plane, like a coordinate space. You can zoom in on a coordinate space infinitely. Like that's the nature of a coordinate space, is that you could just keep zooming in infinitely and infinitely and infinitely, just keep going
Yes,
and
it just meant-
restructuring it and everything like that. It is not. This is, like I said, it seems to me that he's trying to make this out as if it's some esoteric pattern in math that was written into it by some supervenient being. No, it's just the patterns that inherently fall out of the mathematical system that we have. I don't really find it. I mean, yeah, I think it's kind of beautiful, but beauty is subjective. As they say, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's cool,
Right.
it's beautiful, but
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, I really,
There's a
I
God.
really do not know. Hold on. I really do not know what on earth he is coming at. So let's try and see if we can figure it out for a little bit longer. So far he has gone on 20 minutes. He's gone on 20 minutes talking about this stuff,
Mandelbrot.
and I still don't understand the point.
Well,
Hey,
the point
now-
that he's getting at is that it was God that put all these fancy, beautiful patterns in the math. And even if I did believe in God, I would still disagree with that, because math is something that humans invented.
Exactly. So I guess let's just continue.
It looks like that.
And
And I found from experience, you
There
can
you
zoom
go,
in on the
David.
center of that to your heart's
There
content.
you go.
Nothing changes. It goes forever. It's an infinite spider web. And so what we'll do is we'll go off axis. We'll look at one of the strands of the spider web, see what it's made of. And we find the spider web strand is made of more spider web strands, interestingly, and spirals as well. Quite lovely, really, very beautiful. We zoom in on one of those. We find an interesting structure there. You find that there's kind of two central hubs, one on the top, one on the bottom, right? You see those where there's bright yellow in this illustration. And then it goes to 4 in the middle there. You can see there's 4. And then when we zoom in, you'll see it'll go to 8, 16, 32, 64. It's all the powers of 2. So not only does the Mandelbrot set know how to count, know how to add, it knows how to do powers of 2, interestingly.
What does it mean that
So
he
let's zoom in on
knows?
the
This doesn't make
central,
sense.
That
Wait,
central
what?
4 little square structure there.
I didn't catch what you said.
Yeah, Dr. Leo said it knows how, like the Mandelbrot set knows how to do something, like it has intelligence behind it. It's like, what?
I would at least assume he's speaking anthropomorphically, but I could be wrong. By the way, I think this whole thing that he's getting, like these are fractals. I believe that the fractal patterns, those, I don't know if they're ubiquitous in math, but I'm pretty sure they arrive in more than one place. All this is really showing is sort of a sort of geometric symmetry in math, which, if the fact that our system is symmetric, I think says a lot about how accurate the mathematical system we currently have is.
Yes, it's about rotation, because if we multiply complex digit, we rotate it on some degree, and this accumulates onto this pattern.
All right, let's continue.
And you find that in the middle is, well, that's interesting. It goes from 4 to 8 to 16, and then right in the middle is, of course, another baby version of the Mandelbrot set. Isn't that amazing? And we've zoomed in, I don't know how many times, but this is a tiny little structure built into the original. And you can see that it too has a little baby Mandelbrot set.
Is this whole thing about the Mandelbrot set?
Those bow tie shapes, but now they're single spirals. The
I think it is.
smaller and smaller scales. It's not like the physical universe where you get down to atoms and then they're just spheres. Here, it goes on
Atoms
literally
aren't-
forever. You could zoom in
atoms
on
aren't
that.
Really
For us-
spherical.
Yeah, I'm skipping ahead to 33 minutes because hold on, speed. Good idea.
I'm assuming he's speaking just because he knows he's speaking to lay people, but as a PhD astrophysicist, he should know atoms aren't spherical. In fact, their orbitals have numerous different shapes, obviously due to quantum mechanics. So
Yeah, I'm going to skip ahead. This is now at the 33-minute mark, a little bit more than halfway through the lecture, and he's still talking about this.
you got to see what Icarus
Let's
put
figure
in
out-
the side chat. Look at the trees, Mandelbrot.
Oh God, love that comment. Oh God.
life. So that's z to the negative 2. What happens if you use z to the negative 3? You get that. Z to the negative 4, you get that. Z to the negative 5. Again, it just there's a progression there. And so there's another type of
So
snowflake.
it's
that you can get. So
so
isn't
he's
that
gonna zoom in
fascinating?
another
All we're
fractal
doing
now.
is looking at maps of which points belong to that little formula, and changing the formula doesn't just gives you new shit.
Okay, so finally we're getting to this. What does all this mean? Oh boy, now we're
Finally, halfway through, we finally get the Bible side of this. Sweet Lord.
yeah. I mean, it looks like we're finally getting towards the end. Like finally, like all of this. Like let's continue. Let's see if we can have some fun with this.
Shape. So what does all this mean? I mean, are we just looking at pretty shapes here? What does all it mean? Well, my question is, what causes this beauty in fractals?
The fact that we assign beauty to it because we like it. This idea
Exactly.
that beauty is objective, I've never understood. Like Cameron Bertuzzi makes this argument frequently.
Yeah.
And maybe there is a good argument for there being objective beauty, but I would say that the fact that we've had the phrase "beauty is in the eye of the beholder" for what, like centuries now, that kind of shows that it's not. I consider Emilia Clarke beautiful. I've met people who, and I still think that they're wrong, but I'm being facetious when I say that they don't think that she is beautiful. I mean, I don't get why people think that beauty is an objective
I've
feature.
seen your
I
Twitter.
think that
Leo.
there
I've
is-
seen your Twitter.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
I think there is some built-in
Where does it
in humans. To
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
that-
so do I.
something is beautiful.
Yeah. But let's just continue.
Come from? How do we account for it? How do we make sense of it? What causes the complexity in fractals? The fact that you can zoom in on them, they have these mathematical properties, they continue infinitely. How do we make sense of that? Well, first of all, what causes the beauty in fractals?
Oh God.
Is it the man-made color scheme?
Yes.
I picked the colors. I think they're
Yes.
pretty.
Yeah, that plays
The
into
fact
it.
is, even if you take away the color, the shape is still beautiful, even in grayscale. Okay, and I didn't pick the shape. Nobody did. No human did. So it's not the
Kinda,
man-made
though.
color scheme. That's not it. I think that adds to it the way a little bit of salt will bring out the flavor of your food, but it's not creating the beauty, not at all. Did the computer create the beauty? Well, we saw the computer plot this, but the fact is the computer just did quickly what you could do manually. We did the first 2 points manually. Remember, we did -1 and -1, and we found whether or not they belong. So no, this shape is built into numbers. The computer just helped us to reveal it quickly. You could theoretically do this all by hand. It would just take forever. And so this didn't create the beauty any more than a microscope creates the complexity of a microbe. No, it just allows us to see it. Did people make this?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Yes, people
we
did.
came up with the formula,
Yes.
but what we've seen
Wait,
is
wait,
that the formula
pause.
doesn't really
Pause.
matter too much. You can change the formula. You still get these.
We know that people made it because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
named after the person who developed the
Exactly.
formula.
Yeah, literally, like Kara said, literally, we picked a formula. You can probably do this with any formula.
Yeah, like Euler's formula.
yeah,
Why
exactly.
is it named after Euler? Because he developed the formula.
Yeah, like literally, I don't really get what he's getting at.
Well, let's finish a point then. You know, you
Yeah,
jump
that's
in
not-
after one sentence. Of course, he's not going to explain himself.
Wonderful shapes. And frankly, no human being sat down and said, okay, I think I'm going to make this shape where it's like, a cardioid here, and then I'm going to put some circles on it. And I think I'll draw an infinite number of, well, human beings can't draw an infinite number of things. Human beings did not create this. We can't create infinite. We
Because
discovered it.
infinites are abstract, just like
We did not
create
create it.
formula.
And so it seems to me the beauty is built into math.
I would agree with that, but in a subjective way.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's more intersubjective. A lot of people think math is beautiful because it's very symmetric. Because of the way
Just
that we structured
philosophical,
our
yes.
system, we wanted it to be symmetric because that just makes it better.
Yeah.
The beauty of fractals is built into the math somehow. Well, what causes the complexity in fractals? The fact that they repeat and have these mathematical properties. What counts for
Again,
that? Did the computer
complexity
create
is
it?
something
Obviously
like
not.
beauty.
The computer simply reveals it. You could do these. You could plot these manually, theoretically. Did human beings create it?
Yes.
We can't create things that are infinitely
Mute
complex.
yourself, David.
Think about it. Man-made machines, you get down to some level, and then they're very crude and simple. We can't do that. We can't create an infinite number of minis built
Oh
into the
my
original.
God.
We
Why
can
does
create
it keep
several, but not an
confusing
infinite. number.
Abstract infinites with literal
beyond us.
infinites, which
It's not
don't
something that
exist.
human beings
Yeah,
created.
there is no infinite fractal in nature, so we
Yeah. This is what happens if you take a pattern and just choose to keep repeating it at infinitum.
Exactly. And by the way,
Infinity
yes,
is a concept. You cannot get it in nature. It doesn't
Yeah.
appear in the real world.
Yes, there
Yeah,
is some
literally.
total patterns, but not infinite.
Yeah, literally. Did the formula z squared plus z create it? Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Literally. Yes, it literally created it.
Yes, it created it. And projection on plane created it.
Did the formula create it? Well, the formula doesn't matter too much. The formula reveals it.
What?
The formula sets defines what points belong and what not. But it's not like people picked a formula to give that shape. People picked the formula and were surprised by that shape. Very surprised. So it seems to me the complexity is somehow built into math. Interesting. Here we have a shape that's been built into numbers, built into math. What is math? Aside from that subject that's really hard in school,
I don't really
math
think
is the study of the relationship between numbers. That's really how you could define it. It's how numbers relate to each other. Well, what are numbers then? And it's funny, some of these things that we
Numbers are
use every day.
Not
And we
only
think
numbers.
reality.
Yeah, and numbers are simply a way of quantifying things.
Humans recognize that things come in sets. Things can be quantified, and we developed a syntax, I guess you could say, for quantifying that, and then discovered that we can create relationships, or really discovered relationships in that syntax, and that's slowly. I mean, you can see the progression of mathematics and arithmetic because they're related, but there's some differences there. In humans, like going back, I think even like 12,000 plus years, you can see how it evolved. Like I said, there's been base 8, base 10, base 12, base 60. We use base 10 now because it's much more symmetric than the other ones and makes it more easy to understand
Exactly.
and utilize. And that's why we see the patterns that he's talking about.
Hey, Sal, you still listening to this? Yeah, I was.
Trying to stay. Trying to stay awake.
I wanted to ask you, Sal, as a creationist yourself, do you think his line of argument here is a good one, or what's your opinion on it?
I'm sorry,
no,
Jason Lyle.
Sorry, continue.
He's not as.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I'll try to
The
answer
reason
your
why
question.
I'm bringing him up is because Standing for Truth is actually having Dr. Leisel on his channel in a few days. So that's one of the reasons why I figured, okay, let's bring him up. And at the beginning of the stream, we were kind of talking about dishonest creations, and we were going through Dr. Andrew Snelling, and somehow it came up on Dr. Leisel here, and figured out, okay, here's his video. Let's dig into it a little bit and see if we can pick out his arguments. So what are numbers? Literally, let's type it in the dictionary. Numbers dictionary. Let's see here. Numbers.
I got to tell you something. I don't know that I can't remember a single math class where they ever defined what mathematics is. They just that may sound kind of funny, but I don't know. So some of these really philosophical questions, I
never actually
said what's a number. I do remember that we started with the Zermelo-Fraenkel set theory, and it's like, okay, then we try to synthesize kind of mathematical systems, but I don't remember a single class where they said what's a number and tried to define it. It's just like, well, maybe it's an undefined term.
Yeah, I think that's more in the realm of philosophy of mathematics rather than actual applied mathematics or anything like that.
So Orge's question was, what do I think about Lyle? Was that what your question was?
No, like this of your argumentation of it.
Yeah, what do you think about his argument? Do you think it's a good one from your point of view, or is he just kind of going off on a weird tangent like we think he is?
Or neither.
I personally, oh man, you guys are gonna get me in trouble here.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'm trying to get your opinion. I promise.
Well, I've done my share of criticizing other creationists, and I think he's a fine gentleman, but I've never used any of his arguments, and that probably tells you something.
Yeah,
so
that's fine.
Or leave it for what it's worth.
Yeah,
I recorded that dialogue. I'll put it in a GIF, and it'll go all over the internet now. It's fine.
Let's see here. Let's continue.
We don't think about how are they defined? How would you define a number? I looked through several dictionaries, and it's hard to get an exact definition of that. The best I could find is a dictionary that said numbers are a concept of quantity. I think that's the best definition I've been able to see. And so if you have, 2 oranges and 2 rocks and 2 people and 2 galaxies, what do they all have in common? Two-ness. You abstract away the physical thing, and what you're left with is a concept, the concept of quantity. That's what numbers are. They are a concept. Now, the thing about concepts is they exist in the mind. Concepts are something you think. Numbers are something you think.
Yeah, but thoughts are
They're
physical.
abstract in nature, not physical. You cannot stub your toe on the number 2. You can stub your toe on something physical that maybe there's 2 of them, but you can't stub your toe on two-ness, right? You can't do that because it's not physical. They exist in the mind. You can't trip over a law of mathematics or pull one out of the refrigerator or accidentally swallow one. They're non-physical. They are abstract. They exist in the mind. You say, well, I don't know, that number 3 is physical, right? I see it there on the screen. That's the number 3. Is it the number 3, really? Because if so, then I just destroyed the number 3. Oh, wait a minute. That wasn't actually 3, right? Because it's not like children will now have to count 1, 2, 4 because there's no more 3. I just destroyed it. No. We get it. That was a representation of 3, right? That was a numeral. Written numerals are not numbers. They are representations of numbers, and they can be written different ways. I could write 3 with 3 vertical lines, right, like they do in Roman numerals, or I could use, Arabic or whatever. Those are just representations of numbers. But the concept of 3-ness is not something you can write down. Because it's
so
mental.
if the concept of
exists in the
3-ness
mind.
isn't something you can write down,
Laws of
is the
math are
concept of
conceptual. They
0?
exist.
Is the concept of 0 something you can write down? Because I mean, there was a time when 0 wasn't a thing, right? So how does that play into it?
Exactly. I think 0 was invented, I think.
Oh, gee, when was it invented? I'm going to look that up because I can't remember.
Yeah, let's see here. 0 was invented around the first recorded appearance of 0 is in Mesopotamia 3 BCE.
Oh my God!
Super.
Yeah, the Mayans independently in 4 AD. So yeah, just a few centuries before Christ. Hi, Chris. How are you, my friend?
Chris,
Doing well, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Good to see you, Chris.
Good to see you. Good to see you, Ogre. Good to see you, Leo.
Yep, you
Sal,
too.
nice
Right
to see
back.
you
I
as
got
always. And I think that's Krill Debunk if I don't have my glasses on. Nice to see you.
Yep. All right.
But it's Dr. Lyell. I don't think there's an S in there, David. Yeah.
Okay. It's Lisle. That's how he spells his name.
Lyle is how it's pronounced, though. Like
Right.
Isle, with like the word Isle.
Yeah.
Like
Jason Lyle.
like the British Isles, just with an L at the front of it.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm bad at pronunciation. I am terrible with pronunciation.
Well,
so
I mean, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know the S is silent unless you know what I mean. People's last names they can be wild.
Yeah.
So Chris, I caught Sal in a quandary, and now he's kicked off of Christian internet. Might as well ask you, what is your opinion on him going forward? Do you know much about Dr. Lyle?
I like his find his work on the Mandelbrot sets and the pretty interesting.
That's what we're looking at now. Yeah.
Oh, really? Have you ever checked out the Buddha set?
No, but right now we're talking about the Mandelbrot set, and this is kind of what his argument is. I'm not really. I really don't understand.
Yeah, I watched it. I didn't follow it either. I mean, he goes into Franklin and all that. I really didn't. I watched this. It's been a few years. This is probably from a few years ago, isn't it?
It's from last year. So yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe it was last year. It seems like it's been more than that, actually.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, in all reality, the last couple of years have been quite long. Hey, Dapper, I know. How are you? Good to see you, Dapper. So yeah, Dapper, we were talking about dishonest creationists in the beginning, talking about Dr. Snelling and pulling up some of his work.
Yeah, I don't know that he ever had an argument in this video. It's just more like he was just. I mean, I guess his argument may have been that numbers or.
Yeah,
like
I literally.
Significance.
Yeah. Hey, Dapper, come on in. Jump in. The water's fine. We're talking about
come on in. The math is fine.
It's cold but refreshing.
Fine. Come on in.
Gonna be a stacked house in here. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We have quite a big house already. So yeah, do this. There we go. So yeah, I am not finding any. I'm having a really hard time following along with this.
Well, I get where he's going. I just don't think it's a good argument. He's essentially doing the same, something along the same lines that William Lane Craig does, where he argues that you can't have math without God.
Yeah, and he argues, Matt, you can't have morality without God.
Or
and all
the
that.
wonders of math. You know what I mean? Something like that too.
Yeah,
Well,
sure.
I mean, we can let him keep going. So maybe it'll all make complete sense.
Yeah, maybe I get a
turn us
refresher. Go
on to
ahead.
good Christian children. Who knows?
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
In the mind. So these laws that we have, the multiplication, the commutative property of multiplication or distributive property and so on, these are conceptual. They exist in the mind. Now they're very effective in how we.
Oh, and here he is, the Dapper Dinosaur.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Dapper, how are you?
My audio is probably terrible because I don't have my sound canceling tiles. I don't know that I can stay super long, but
that we have.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh shit! I just forgot what I was going to say.
Well, these are conceptual.
Hey, I'm Dapper.
Oh,
Mighty.
that's what I was going to say. Does this guy know about non-commutative properties?
Oh, and here he is, the Dapper Dinosaur.
Somebody's echoing, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that might have been me. Yeah, that was probably me. I'm sorry. I'm
That's not a problem.
terrible at this. So basically, I just randomly jumped in. I didn't set up my sound tiles. I didn't pay any attention to what windows I had open. I'm sorry about that.
And it's
That's
not
all
a
good.
problem.
You're
Dapper,
not the first one.
I'm the worst today. I'll be honest. I've been out of it all day today. I spent most of the day trying to get a video done, and I finally did. But it took like 9 hours or something. It was ridiculous.
Jesus.
yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and I want to say, Sal, I'm glad to see you here. I'm always happy to hang out with you. I know you've been on my channel, and yeah, I just wanted to make that clear because this isn't public knowledge, but there's been a little bit of chat in the background, and I know that there was some stuff that you got blindsided by, and
Totally,
I know.
man.
And
I did not, I'm a pretty transparent person. And what I try to get people to say, if you're going to say something to me,
yeah,
it's something you should be willing to say in public. So
I just want to say that, so basically I don't want to get super into it, but there has been some behavior recently in certain corners of creationist YouTube. Certainly not all corners. I want to say that relating to me and other people that I've found unacceptable. And Sal got sort of blindsided by that in a private email with me and someone else. And I just wanted to say that I apologize, Sal, for sort of you being accidentally dragged into that. It was certainly not something I would have intended. And yeah, I'll just say this. There was, it's semi-public, but there was someone who pretty heavily implied that I ought to be beheaded. And I thought that is something that should be addressed on that person's channel or the channels that host him.
Was it Smokey Saint?
No, honestly.
John Maddox?
It wasn't Maddox, but I'm now at that point, I'm not going to say who it was because this is...
Damn it. Okay.
That video is down now, so at least there is that. But yeah, there have been some people associated with those two and their friends.
Was it the SFT and
he said he's not going to say. So if you guess it right, he's probably not going to confirm.
Yeah, I'm done spilling hints at this point. But
yeah,
I'll just say that there are some people who need to address some stuff regarding behavior in their community, and Sal, I do not count as one of those people.
Neither do I.
Because look, Sal, you. Unlike many people, I've never found you to be anything other than polite, willing to engage, and I don't agree with you on some things, Sal, obviously, but in my list of like people who I am willing to spend time with and people who I am not, you are definitely on the willing to spend time with. If you were in the area and I weren't susceptible to pneumonia, I would be perfectly willing to go grab lunch with you.
Yeah,
but
I really appreciate that, and I'm forming up my own channel, and it'll probably have a different group of clientele, so to speak. I don't find it productive for my life or other people's lives to just try to keep generating more and more drama. I'm more of an academic, really, and I went to school with a creationist, studying under evolutionists and evolutionary biologists and physicists that were atheists. So it's, I'm just wired a different way. I wouldn't have been able to get through that if I didn't know how to get along and to respect people and not call them names left and right just because I don't like what they believe. I'm not into that. I've done my share of name calling and I regret that. But
my favorite thing about people calling people names for what they believe is no one actually really has a good handle on what I believe. And I love watching people just assume. Because I actually make it a point not to disclose my religious affiliation and or lack thereof, because it doesn't matter to any of my points that I ever talk about. Like, if you look at my channel, at no point do I say, oh, you should stop being a theist or a Christian or whatever you are. I'm just like, here's my take on science. If you can adapt whatever you believe to not be in conflict with science, as far as I can tell what science is, I don't care what else you believe metaphysically. That's not why my channel's here. Now, personally, I have my own opinions, right? Like, if anyone here got to know me as the guy behind the dinosaur, if you will, you might get a hint at what I actually have as my opinion on these matters. But like, it's one of the things that I hate is when people are like, oh, it's just all of us Christians against all of them atheists. No, it's not. There are Christians on both sides of this argument. I probably can't say there are atheists on both sides of it, but like, there are also like Jews and Muslims and Buddhists and all sorts of people on both sides of this argument. And I really hate that sort of us versus them mentality. I think we should focus more on science and data.
Yeah.
I agree. Anyway,
if I could share, I hated it when people, I would just ask questions in church and I couldn't believe all the nasty names they started calling me. And I'm just like, dude, what's up? Why are you treating me like that? You ought to be glad when someone asks you a question, you want to answer it.
Actually, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. A similar thing happened. It's in my. I have a video called "Leaving Young Earth Creationism." That's my leaving Young Earth Creationism. But one of the stories I tell there is back when I was still solidly a Young Earth Creationist. My church youth group decided to have a mock debate, but they couldn't come up with any person to argue for evolution. Then they decided to have me do it because, like, I was kind of the smart guy. That's that was sort of my reputation. And I was just doing devil's advocate. Like, I didn't actually accept any of the things I was saying. I was just trying to argue for evolution for the sake of putting on this ridiculous debate. And I had people screaming at me from the audience. And we had to have one of the youth group leaders come out and say, hey, this is just like a thing that we asked him to do as a favor. This isn't actually, my name is public. My first name is public. This isn't Tim's position. And yeah, it was crazy. It shook me a little bit.
Well, I got to tell you, see, there's something about, this is something I don't like about churches. A lot of them avoid facts. They do a lot of socializing and culture. It's not about, it's honestly not about what people really believe is true. There's a lot of like not engaging difficult questions. The policy is to avoid them and to kind of keep the social tribe together. And it took me years, decades to figure out that that's the way business is done. And I just don't like it. It's
I'm glad that you
that is so, I mean, just last 2 years, there's a pastor that's beloved in church, but I knew something was not quite right. And I said, oh Lord, help the parishioner to get his counsel, because he's clueless. Wasn't a year later, I said, he's clueless about ever giving counsel to anyone, because I studied a little bit of neuroscience, and his ideas about what makes people tick were just totally off the wall. And I said, God help him if he tries to counsel a married couple, because he's going to give bad advice because he has no clue. Wasn't a year later, he got caught. The police arrived at his house because he was caught beating his wife and kids. I said, yeah, this is what.
Oh, man. That's worse than just giving someone some bad advice. I ended up
here with people just using bullying and socializing rather than addressing tough questions. And the best way to address the tough questions is say, I don't know, or I don't have a good answer. I would actually take that more highly then starting to kind of turn it on me, change the subject, and demonize me just because I
That's rough.
raised. And so that's, I mean, if you wonder what makes me tick, that's what makes me tick. I hated being treated that way, and I don't like seeing other people treated that way. It's just,
I did too. Although I will be fair to the church that I went to at that point, and to say that after that, when I started being a little bit more open about my sort of journey regarding science, a lot of the at least adults that I talked to, because at this point I was sort of like, I think I was a junior in high school at this point when I started being like, hey guys, I'm not really totally on board with this whole young Earth creationism that the church is doing. Like, it doesn't work for me. And I didn't tell a lot of the other people my age about it, but I mentioned it to a few of the older people that I trusted in the church, and most of them were not hostile like that. So I'll at least say that there was that. But yeah, it is troublesome. And one of the things is, like, if in fact you have as your goal or one of your goals in life the spread or at least maintenance of Christianity, attacking people for having questions or doubts or just pointing out that what you're saying contradicts basic reality, not the way to go, guys.
Yeah,
it's really not.
And that's how you lead people to atheism, when you shut down their questions and deliberately put your head down and avoid reality. But anyway, Dapper Dino, I really appreciate you coming on. And
well, of course. I mean, I say of course, but like, I found out about this stream like 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, we might chill sometime, Dapper.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah. So the whole thing that SFT was trying to set up to get a debate, I'm not. That's nothing urgent for me. I kind of do this for fun. The urgent things I actually need to do is study basic science, because I forgot so much. I mean, I was like, maybe I should hang out with Leophilus. We could talk about quantum mechanics, because I totally forgot.
Oh man, that would be such a fun discussion. Like, religion.
I totally forgot so much of my math. I mean,
gonna collapse some waveforms.
Yeah.
I can talk theology. Rocks are fun.
You know what? So until recently, I would have actually disagreed with you, but then I started reading a whole bunch of geology papers and talking to geologists and geology students and stuff for a few videos that I did, and it has significantly shifted my opinion on how interesting geology is. Because for the most part, for most of my life, I was like, it's just a rock. It kind of sits there as like, at least on my time frame, it just sits there, right? Like, sure, on a geological time frame, it doesn't, but like, I'm never going to watch that happen. So like, what do I care? But then I started looking into like specific claims about like the various formations, especially in North America, but also some in Australia and a few in Africa and a couple in like Northern Europe. And I was like, oh, there's actually like a lot of like puzzle solving and stuff. And like, how exactly does this form? And
I'll tell you the best part about geology is every time you go for a walk, you have an entire story anytime you look anywhere. Every outcrop, every rock has 100,000 years of tale to tell you if you just stop and look at it.
Well, and one of the things is I actually did some of that not that long ago. I was with my co-host Bent Hovind, who I think some of you are probably familiar with.
Yeah.
And we were walking through some of the there's a lot of igneous outcrops in the area where basically the sedimentary stone nearby has kind of eroded away, and what's left is the harder igneous intrusions. And so we were walking around and we were picking out like, okay, well, this stone has a higher amount of like, say, copper, because we can see like the verdigris in here, and we're seeing the worn away sedimentary layers and the igneous outcrops in other places that are sticking out above them. And we're talking about like the volcanic activity that would have been involved in this, and it was it was interesting.
Anyway, Dapper, question: have you ever seen any of my debates or videos? Just out of curiosity.
I feel like I've seen some of your debates. I don't think I've seen any of your any pre-recorded videos of yours though.
Yeah, I know. Recently, I debated on Tangelo. I think that was probably one of my best debates yet.
Nice. Also, I saw the Smoky Saint versus Tangelo discussion. That was
Lord.
Yeah, that was
interesting. I was. Although I will say, after Otangelo left, and it just sort of became Smokey and people who agreed with him, I kind of lost interest. So I was only there I only watched like an hour of it because once I realized, it was just going to be Smokey and people who agree with him congratulating each other. Like I don't care. Like you can do that for 5 hours. I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like that's also true for like people I agree with. Like
yeah.
If you want to have like, a 5-hour discussion about how stupid Kent Hovind is, I mean, unless you're bringing up new topics, I'm not going to sit there and watch it. Like, I host a weekly show about how stupid Kent Hovind is, but at least we're always watching different material than what we watched last time.
Yeah, exactly. And I love your...
gift that keeps on giving. But Icky Tane is not even worth watching. I'm only subscribed to his channel just to see how he bloviates like an emotional leaf blower about everybody that disagrees with him on even the most petty things, and how he turns it into this, practically this war between him and somebody else, because that's all he wants, because he has such a little man mentality that he has to come on the internet and pick at everybody else to get attention from them and everything like that.
Is that,
I like David,
is that a nickname?
David's.
Yeah, it is. It's for Smokey Saint. And
Smokey Saint, okay.
so one of the things about the Smokey Saint thing is like, okay, if you want to call people out for what you perceive as immorality, I'm not going to tell you you can't. But I do want you to remember that Jesus was the guy who went to parties involving prostitutes and tax collectors,
and washed their feet.
Right. He's not the guy who was like, oh, you're doing something I don't like, I will therefore now call you names and be a jerk. He was the guy who was like, hey, I'm going to be nice to you, but also you should stop. And you know what? If you want to be like, hey, I'm going to, continue to call out what I perceive as your, misbehavior or your advocacy for positions I find aberrant, okay, fine. But if you really want to be following the example of Jesus, you're not going to be calling people cows or bitches or whatever else. You're going to be expressing that you love people while also being willing to call out their immoral behaviors. So
it sounded a bit Christian there, Dapper Dino. Just saying.
Doesn't bother me to sound Christian.
He was quick to point out. He did back in the time. I think that today Jesus would probably be banned from YouTube.
Yeah, I think Jesus would be banned from the church, unfortunately.
Jesus would have been called an evil Marxist, communist, liberal, Democrat, socialist who shouldn't be allowed across the border.
Yeah, exactly, because he was a homeless,
brown-skinned person who preached that you need to pay your taxes, give up your possessions to the poor, tend to the sick, welcome your neighbor like a foreigner, all the stuff that Bernie Sanders advocated for. Yeah, they definitely would have considered Jesus a socialist. There's no doubt about that. Unless it's Republican Jesus. We're talking
Leo, though, the thing is, though, like anybody would agree that in a perfect world, you know what I mean, that would be the best, you know what I mean? But we've never had a true any kind of communism or socialism, and to be honest, we haven't had a true capitalist system,
And now you guys are getting into one of those other areas I don't talk about.
Well,
I you guys?
But anyway,
there today.
Let's talk about a chromosome 2 or something, or some fossils.
By the way,
theism though and naturalism, I like that debate though. How was you all able to have such a calm debate, you two?
Yeah. Anyway, I bought myself a subscription to Kindle Unlimited, and speaking of the something new, I got one of them, and I only got it because it was free on Kindle Unlimited. I got one of the Standing for Truth Brain Trust book.
Goodness.
Okay, let's see here. I haven't read it. I haven't read the whole. I just started reading it. It's on my Kindle. It's when Aaron Ra, destroying Aaron Ra's flood series. Let me pull this up. Application window. I guess
I've only seen one of the Standing for Truth books, but it was.
Yeah.
My goodness.
And kind of.
He did finally upload it, huh?
Yeah, this is from. Yeah, I'll show you. It's kind of. It's definitely poorly edited. You see the screenshots here. Another Wikipedia highlighting here. I'm just going to go through another screenshot. Web search screenshots.
All right. I just got to say, Team SFT, on the off chance that you watch this, it is completely unacceptable to have an embedded hyperlink in a print publication.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I have
Because
to
it
say
doesn't
this.
work.
I have
Exactly.
to say this. Raw Matt is just a piece of shit. I mean, there's no
Yeah,
better way I can describe him. I don't
Yeah.
like to call people that, but that's what he is. He's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, you know what? And I agree 100%. I like Standing for Truth personally. He's a good friend of mine, and I really enjoy my discussions. That being said, I do not like Raw Matt one bit. I think Raw Matt is the snake oil salesman, and some of the stuff, the health stuff he peddles in one of his books is just downright dangerous.
Oh, I
So
read
yeah.
that book.
What's wrong with SpongeBob? I mean, why
Hold
hate on SpongeBob?
Dapper, you were saying you read that book that I was talking about?
Yeah, his health thing, it was absolute insanity. It was basically just a bunch of anecdotes about people who had supposedly lived a long time and then therefore be a raw food vegan. And it was just like, none of this follows. What is even happening?
I think I saw one part of there where he was talking about breatharian, and that's, is breatharian right for you?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
It,
and,
like, I'll be honest, if you follow Raw Matt's advice, first, I don't think Raw Matt follows Raw Matt's advice.
Of course not.
Because if he did, he would be dead.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, some of the stuff in there is literally fatal.
Yeah, and given that, and my question for Standing for Truth, and I don't know if he's going to watch this part or not, but if he does, why would you associate yourself with Raw Matt so closely, given that he's been proven to commit academic fraud and deliberately? I find it repulsive that he dishonestly edited videos to make Dr. Dan look like a liar. I find that to be very repulsive.
He's also dishonestly edited his own videos after the fact on SFT's channel.
Yeah.
So, and my thing is, look, if you're going to call something Team SFT, and you're going to run a channel called Standing for Truth and let other people in quote unquote Team SFT on your channel, the buck stops with you, right? It's sort of like it's sort of like the presidency, right? You're responsible for your administration. Now, if you didn't know something was going on and then it's brought to your attention, okay, what you do then is you correct it. You get rid of that person, or you make them make amends, whatever. But if you don't do that, then the blame goes to you. And as far as I'm concerned, the blame for Raw Matt at this point hasn't gone off of Raw Matt, but it's going on to SFT because you haven't called him out. You haven't kicked him off. He hasn't done anything to apologize or admit his, I would say mistakes, but they're clearly deliberate academic fraud. Like, look, you don't say that your paper was published by a journal when it wasn't. You don't go back and edit a video, delete the critical comments, and then just tell no one that there's the edit and that the critical comments are gone, because now I guess there's no problem with the video.
Exactly. And I know if any of us, myself, you, Dr. Dan, or any of the others would have done that, the entire community would ostracise us and kick us out and say,
oh, absolutely.
And if he's Standing for Truth is really standing for truth, I wonder why. I really wonder why he hasn't called him out on it yet. There's been probably at least 2 months by now. But anyway, let's have some fun with this.
I like to call him strangling the truth.
Oh, but it doesn't have the same initials though.
I know, but that's what he does.
We got to come up with it. Well, so first of all, I'm not a big fan of cutesy names, like, because it feels sort of like Rush Limbaugh-y.
Yeah,
and that always struck me as weird. Like, not that I'm telling you not to. I guess Rush Limbaugh's off the air now, but whatever. Like, I'm not giving my full opinion on Rush Limbaugh here, but I always thought that the weird names were like cringy and terrible. And please don't do that. Yeah. But I will say this though: if your screen name or username or whatever has the word truth in it,
you're probably not telling the truth.
There's a very high chance that you are in fact lying.
Yeah,
I do know some exceptions.
Yeah,
but anytime someone has the word truth in their channel name or screen name or username, I'm immediately wary.
Yeah, exactly.
David, can you do me a favor and highlight Icarus' most recent comment?
Hold on. Let's see here. Icarus, which one?
The most recent one, 9:59. Nope. Next one.
This year, 9:59.
I feel like I'm way behind on the chat or something.
It's fine. The one at 9:59. Man,
the one after Orga's you don't read Einstein in modern physics class.
Let's see here. 9:59. Man, you mean 10:59? Okay,
well, yeah, for you.
Yeah, 10:59. I was gonna say, man, I had to scroll back. I was.
It's 9 o'clock here.
Time zones are a thing on the flat Earth.
Yeah,
Lies is all he has to offer. So it's increasingly hard for me to give Standing the benefit of the doubt in terms of whether he knows or not that he's being dishonest. I definitely started out when I first interacted with him, even sort of by proxy, very much on the side of like, oh, you know, I think he's probably being honest. But like, as time has gone on, and also, did anyone? So one of my more recent videos is I think it was called Jonathan Sarfati Knows Nothing About Dinosaurs. And
yeah,
it was a response to something that Standing himself had clipped from one of his live streams, which was an interview with Jonathan Sarfati, obviously. And the reason that I bothered to address it, because it was mostly just stuff that I'd addressed before, right? Like every single thing that Jonathan Sarfati has said in there, I have debunked several times on my channel already. But the reason I did it was because after my discussion with Mr. Batman, Standing for Truth said that he agreed with me that at the very least, taxonomically speaking, birds are dinosaurs for the reasons that I said. And then he had on Dr. Jonathan Sarfati, who then said things that if Standing had actually watched my presentation, which he said he did, and then agreed to it, then he knows that the things that Jonathan Sarfati was saying were nonsense. And he just enthusiastically assented to all of it. Now, that annoys me. When I know you know better, and then you're just going to go on and pretend? No. Like, for instance, when Jonathan Sarfati said, show me the animal with feathers and an open acetabulum, that's literally every single bird that has ever been found in the entire world, both fossil and living. Every single one. And Standing knows that because it was in the presentation I gave that he watched. And all you have to do to check is check some bird pelvises. That's literally it. And so that is why that kind of behavior is why I'm no longer willing to say that he is honestly mistaken. I am now in the camp that he knows better, and he knows that his audience simply won't accept him not agreeing with these things that he knows are wrong. And the thing is, like, I don't really care that much if you decide to say that birds evolved from dinosaurs, at least in that discussion. But like, you have to admit that they have the anatomy they have, and Jonathan Sarfati doesn't know enough about the anatomy of birds or dinosaurs. But I know Standing does because I've told him.
Yeah, let me see. Where is that? I'm gonna pull that. Can I pull that video up?
Yeah. That's fine.
Sure. I know I saw it.
Copy ID, or what was it? Content ID strike coming? No. Actually, my off-topic channel, I got the option to content ID my off-topic channel from my main channel.
Yeah.
YouTube was like, hey, we found some channel using your stuff. I'm like, okay, who is it? And it's like, oh, it's me. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you that if the other Dapper Diner that I think does gaming stuff is you.
He does coding stuff, and there's a focus on coding for games. And actually, I didn't know about that channel until like a month and a half after I made my channel, and I was like, well, it's a little late now.
Yeah. Well.
Not that I have anything against that guy. I mean, you know, hey, if you want coding tutorials, I've watched a few of his videos. They seem like they're pretty good. Not that I'm a great expert coder.
Yeah, I'm not a computer software guy.
Dude, I've had people come to me with questions about quantum computing, and I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck that is at all. I know quantum mechanics, but not quantum computing.
Yeah, let's see here. I found the video. I wonder if I don't see Standing for Truth's comment. Was it in the live chat?
Yeah, it was in a live chat, and unfortunately, during the time frame that I had to get the video together, I didn't grab the screenshot that I had of it. However, I did. Basically, the most I provided as evidence for this was a discussion between he and Erica in in comments on one of his videos that where basically it was clear that I was not just alone in this, having seen this. Unfortunately, I'm not sure where the screenshot ended up coming from. However, you know what? If Standing wants to say that he never said that, okay, that's fine. After you address the absolutely abysmal behavior of some of your associates, you can come on my channel and we can have a discussion about anatomy of birds and why it is that you think that obviously incorrect information about birds and dinosaurs in general should be promulgated by a chemist on your channel. Why you would have a chemist on to talk about the anatomy of birds and dinosaurs is beyond me in the first place.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
but anyway, if it was in the premiere of your video where he said that you can actually do a live replay of the live chat. So
unfortunately, it wasn't. I actually mentioned that this is something he had said before I ever did the video, because this was when he said this, to my memory. Now, granted, my memory isn't perfect, but it was in the immediate wake of my discussion. I'm not even going to call it debate. It wasn't even a discussion. It was me saying things that are true, and then Mr. Batman saying, "You're going to burn in hell."
Oh yeah, Mr. Batman. I'm sorry, he's
Mr. Batman, sir. Sir, laws have to be given by a lawgiver, sir.
And sir, you're using the law of identity, and where did the law of identity come from, and all of that.
Yeah, Mr. Batman can just be dropped as fast as he's brought up. That's a waste of time right there.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, as far as I'm concerned, if you want to posit that laws require a lawgiver, and you want that lawgiver to be whichever god you like, I don't care. I'm not here to tell you what your metaphysical belief should be. What I'm here to say is the data precludes some options. If the option you accept is precluded by the data, fix it. If it's not, as far as the Dapper Dinosaur channel is concerned, you're great. If you're a Christian, an atheist, an agnostic, an apatheist, an igtheist, mesotheist, pantheist, I don't care about any of those things. As long as your particular position isn't precluded by the data, and you're not trying to advocate for some position that is precluded by the data, then the Dapper Dinosaur has no problem with you. At least as far as your metaphysical beliefs go. I mean, if you're also like, I don't know, eating babies or something, I might have a problem with that.
Funky.
Yeah.
I knew something smelled real funky.
Yep. All right.
Like really, really funky, like rancid shit breath that's been like, what's the word, pestulating or whatever it is in a jar on the shelf of the world. Yeah, there you go, festering in a jar on the shelf of like somebody in a cave who's lived in there for 6 years, and it's just it smells real funky.
Yeah. Hi, Smokey Saint. I see you in the sidebar chat. Good to see you.
Oh, hi, Smokey. Your discussion with Otangelo was it was interesting up until Otangelo left.
Yep.
And then I tuned out pretty quickly. Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, let's see here. Why can't I go back to this application? There we go. So yeah, go back to his video, the SFT.
Oh yeah, because there was a thing going on here.
Yeah. We were talking about SFT's book, and
I think this is raw mat though, isn't it?
Yeah, this is. I don't know if it's just raw mat or if it's
So the reason I think it's just raw mat is because recently raw mat was styling himself as a doctor on a podcast with Matt Powell and some other person who I've never heard of.
What the fuck does that say? Des e auto. What? Is that Spanish?
I have no.
It's Dragon from Skyrim.
Are you kidding me?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say because the thing is, like the Y there also makes me think that it's Spanish, but none of this works as Spanish. And as far as I know, the apostrophe S enclitic is not a thing in Spanish. It's a pretty uniquely English thing.
Doesn't STF usually start in like Hebrew or something like that? Could that be like Englishized Hebrew?
I just looked up the book. I'm gonna type it into private chat here so you can.
I was going to say, your guys' conversation you're having sounds interesting, but I don't know much about the backdrop of it. Was there a video or something you were playing or you were going to play that had something to do with SFT's book or something?
Yeah. Kind of.
I'd rather not lose brain cells tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
But the book is just, the author is Raw Mat Team SFT. That is the name of the author. Raw Mat Team SFT author, George Bond author, Taz Walker author, Steph Heeman author, and two more.
I think I'm basing this just off of that that interview that Raw Mat gave, where basically what he said was,
"Hey SFT, by the way, Standing for Truth, we were just talking about you. Please come on. No, Standing for Truth. Good to see you, my good friend. I was just talking about your book, so if you want to come in the chat and chat around with us,
I will say, if Standing does come in, I will actually be asking him to account for the behavior of his team, and failing that, I will have to leave. Because I did make that a public stance of mine.
And that is fair, and I think we should call him to account. So, yeah, good to see you, Standing for Truth. Come on in. We were just kind of going through your book here. I actually just bought the Amazon Kindle Unlimited, and this book was free on here, so I figured, okay, let's go through it. And
you know what that is? That's just literally like, look, go back to the first page where we were like, what is that?
Yeah, what exactly is this?
Look at that. Look at the Destroying Aaron Ra's Flood series. It's like an abbreviation.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was thought that this would be a thing that would be comprehensible, but like I only just noticed it by looking up at the top of that. I don't know why that's the title page.
Yeah, it's interesting. Come on in, Standing for Truth. Good to see you, my good friend.
I think it's. I want to still say it's Dragon Speak. That sounds much more badass.
To me,
I mean, look, I'm having. In case you guys don't know, tomorrow I'm interviewing a number of people who are high-level Klingon speakers on my channel. So no problem with the whole Draconic thing. Although it's a bit weird to put in your Aaron Ra's Flood series book, but whatever.
Yeah. So I'm gonna invent this here. Desio Arra Floser.
You know what? You should. Is this the start of a new constructed language for a new fantasy series you're writing? Because do it.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would. I'm actually. I would love to write a fantasy series. Desio Arra Floser.
Do it. And that phrase has to be a thing in a language you construct. Just do it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Desio Arra Floser.
How these writers construct their fantasy languages. I really don't.
Neither do I.
Look, I'll tell you what. I'm not going to go into it on air, but if you actually want to do that, let me know. Contact me on Twitter or something, and I can give you some pointers and places to get resources on constructing a language if that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to construct. I just want to know like how people like J.R.R. Tolkien, George R.R. Martin have constructed the language.
Well, okay, George R.R. Martin did not construct a language.
That was for the show.
But isn't there written parts in the books? I'm pretty sure there is.
David Peterson did. So he did write some gibberish in the books, which David Peterson, or David R. Peterson as he usually goes by, then turned into Dothraki. And actually, I'm connected a little bit with David R. Peterson. I interviewed him once for school. Wearing a few Facebook for it.
That he might know. Why did David Benioff and DB Weiss try to fuck that show every which way from Sunday from the get-go?
I don't know. So I will say that as the guy who does the languages, he's usually not super involved with decisions like that.
Yeah.
He mostly just does like, I made a language and they give me the script and then I send back the translation. And then he's involved with talking to the dialect coaches about how to instruct the actors. Like he basically gives the dialect coaches a fairly narrow International Phonetic Alphabet transcription of what they're supposed to say, as well as his standard romanization. And then the dialect coaches talk to the actors about how to produce these sounds the right way. So he's not super plugged into like all of the exact processes of like the show production.
I really want to answer that question. I hope I never meet those guys because I'm slapping them both across the face.
Neff, can you get D&D on here real quick, please, to answer these questions? We got a big line. You want to get those two?
I'm sorry?
Can you get Benioff and Weiss on here to answer Leo's questions after Standing for Truth, please?
Hold on a sec. Hold on 1 sec. I'm going to try and stop sharing. Trying to bring who in?
David Benioff and DB Weiss. We're joking.
I was making a joke. You screwed up my joke. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm focusing with too much at once.
I'm assuming David here has not seen the series.
No, I have not.
Oh, well, don't. Just read the books. Just read the books.
Well, my problem with the books was I got to book 4, and then I spent like 5 chapters having every single meal that Brienne of Tarth ate detailed for me in exacting detail, and I was like, I don't care anymore. I was like, I don't care how many times she's going to have like, crusty bread and hard cheese for breakfast. Like, I just don't care what her breakfast is every day. But for some reason, George R.R. Martin thought it was really important to tell me what everyone ate for every meal.
The 4th book, is that A Feast for Crows or A Dance with Dragons? It's one of the two.
I don't remember the name. I think it's A Feast for Crows, but I'm not sure.
Because I think A Dance with Dragons is the most recent one.
Okay. Well, I just know that's how far I got. And then I was like, Dude,
Yeah, I'm
you
done.
have bogged this down in a way that even the Silmarillion can't compare with. Because at least the Silmarillion didn't tell me what Feanor ate for every single meal for 5,000 years. Because my goodness. And look, I've read the Silmarillion more than once. Like, I am okay with some dense fiction that is going into ridiculous details, but my goodness. That one got me, guys. I'm sorry. I only have so much strength for minutia that are irrelevant.
Yeah.
And then I'm out. Which is one of the reasons why I haven't been reading a lot of fiction lately. I've been like the last 20 things or so that I've read have been like geology, biology, paleontology, and medical.
I'm actually
studies.
gonna get the 2 books, the one I'm almost done reading and the one that I'm about to read. Sal might be interested in both.
Sal, you a big fan of a song of Ice and Fire?
I don't even know enough. I didn't even hear the title until you mentioned it. So maybe
that's the series of books that the Game of Thrones show was based on. Oh, there you go. Something Deeply Hidden by
This
Sean
is
Carroll.
a really, really good book. It is about quantum worlds and the emergence of space-time. And as you can see, I'm almost done with it.
Nice.
And then the next one I'm going to be reading is this.
The Theoretical Minimum.
I've heard of that book, yeah.
Yeah. I've actually heard that this one is a little bit better, at least for lay people, than the next book I'm going to mention, I've read a little bit of it, than David Griffith's Introduction to Quantum Mechanics, just because that is sort of geared more for an undergraduate or somebody like that, whereas this is just designed. And I mean, this is obviously, I could just flip to a page. I mean, it's mathy.
Let me grab my book.
At the same time, it's not as mathy or as advanced in the math.
Hey guys, I have
David
a copy
Griffith.
of Beowulf in the original Anglo-Saxon handy, so take that.
Oh man, I love Beowulf. It is one of my favorite English literature stuff.
But have you read it in the original Anglo-Saxon?
No, but I've listened to it in the original Anglo-Saxon.
Nice.
At least part of it, and there's a really good video that plays the original Anglo-Saxon with some music in it. Let's see if I can say old English reading. Let's see.
Hotway Gardenum.
Yes, one of my. Let's see here. I'm just going to play a couple minutes of this. Why not? Since we're on the topic of the English.
Also, you know what? Since Standing is here, Standing, since I know that you're watching right now, please stop including hyperlinks in your books.
Yes,
put in
please.
end or footnotes because. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Hotway Gardena.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's see here.
Oh yeah, you have it muted.
Wait, where did Sal just go?
He went to get his book.
Oh.
Oh, he gets that really soft sound.
Yeah.
I go a little bit more harsh on it.
Yeah, and
he's got that thah. I usually go thah.
Yeah, I would love to learn more. I would really love to learn some of the Old English stuff, and it's just fascinating. I like linguistics.
Wait, Sal just dropped.
Yeah, I don't know where. I don't know where he. What happened?
There he is. Welcome back, Sal. Where's that book?
I wanted to talk to Leophilus about this because this is even though it is supposedly for undergrads, for the engineers in my curriculum that we had to be retreaded as physics students. Mm-hmm. So we actually had to be retrained in graduate school. I'd like to go through this book with you.
Sure, I can't tell you I'll understand all of it. But
well, that goes for both of us because I need to go back to relearn some of my basic math, even just like in the first chapters.
Oh yeah,
that's some mean-looking differentials. Yeah, well, actually, that's an integral. I mean, but yeah.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yay, calculus.
There is actually a difference.
So we is there a way I can get a hold of you? Do you
have a Twitter? Speed
exchange our emails.
Yeah.
I told him that I was trying to get a hold of you. That's okay. We're cool with that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll try to work through it because and I wanted to say this publicly. I really commend you when you just FMB. I don't know. I can't pronounce Joel.
Joel?
about the black body radiation, and he said black bodies have nothing to do with quanta. It's like, dude,
Oh God.
you're claiming to be a scientist in quantum mechanics. You just don't say stuff like that.
Now,
So I wanted to say publicly,
Yeah.
I was on your side that time. And
He's
if
a
I didn't
liar.
say it, I'm saying it now.
I'm sorry.
I was really
I'm not
impressed.
gonna that.
It's SFB mod.
Joel.
Yeah.
Oh God,
As you
SF
call him.
is a total joke. He's a clown.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. If you're going to say that black body radiation has nothing to do with quantum physics, it's one of those things where it's like you just disqualified yourself from any conversation regarding physics at all. As
It's
far as I'm
pretty
concerned.
basic intro modern physics
Right.
stuff, yeah.
Like why are these peak wavelengths typical? Oh, because of the energy that is associated with that temperature, and then when electrons move down to lower orbitals and shed photons, they shed photons and characteristic wavelengths associated with the energy that they have as a result of the temperature.
I've got a good
what does that
question.
sound like
I'm
if
in
it's
the right
not?
place for it, I
He
think,
calls
too.
himself
If you guys got a
physicist.
second.
So,
But the problem is,
Speaking of SFB mod,
I mean,
me and
he's been
Speed-
nice to me and all. I'm not trying to pick
Credentials.
a fight with him, but it's like, dude, you just don't say stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that one, Sal.
Me and Speed looked up his credentials because he has a LinkedIn profile. He doesn't have any degrees in anything in the physical sciences whatsoever. None. And he said that he's done work with with quantum mechanics. I don't remember where at, but when I asked him if he knew what it meant to normalize a wave function, he couldn't tell me what that means. What he said is that, well, that's not important, except that it is, because in order to square the wave function and actually essentially solve this for Schrodinger's equation, you have to take the norm squared, the normalized wave function squared. So you have to normalize the wave function before you can square it and actually get a result. He also claimed he did work with general relativity, and me and Immutable Destiny both asked him what a tensor was, and he didn't know what a tensor was.
Ooh.
Hard
Einstein's
math, that's what it
equations
is.
are tensor equations. It's the guy just, yeah, he's a liar. Simple as
You
that.
know what this reminds me of in terms of biology is there was a discussion. I think it was Maddox and Gutsa Gibbon.
I'm still
and-
listening. Just got to turn my camera off.
And John Maddox, for some reason, got it into his head that ribose was a protein. And it's just like, dude, come on.
Oh.
There's a reason it ends in OSE, along with like other chemicals like glucose and fructose and sucrose. That ending means something, and it means very much that it's not a protein. It's a sugar. And I remember it specifically because it was in response to a question that I had asked about the recent discovery that ribose could remain stable in certain circumstances inside asteroids, which had answered a big question, because in many circumstances, ribose is very unstable. And so there was always the question of how do you get a ribose backbone for genetic material if ribose decays so quickly? And then it turns out, well, there are actually certain situations in which ribose can be shielded from the things that tend to break it down, and it can persist for an extremely long time. And so I asked about like how, what he thinks of that. I really honestly just wanted to know if he had a take on that. And so basically his take was, some guys found a protein somewhere. And like several people tried to tell him, like, no, this is a sugar. Like this isn't, this is the reason it's important is because, it's part of the ribonucleic acid in, DNA, RNA.
John Maddox is he's one of those people that memorized a bunch of big words and then throws them about with people he thinks don't have an understanding of the subject, so he can sound really smart when in fact he doesn't understand the minutia of anything he's saying.
I call those people jargon junkies because they just memorize a bunch of jargon and they don't know what any of it means, but it sounds cool.
Yeah.
By the way, real quick, sorry to interrupt. Standing for Truth, since you're here, I want to show you something real quick.
Uh-oh.
This is a book. I'm going to show you a good way. I'm going to give you a good idea of a good way to organize your notes. So in the chapters, what most books do is...
You should focus on yourself so we can see the book more clearly.
Yeah, they have little notes and it's telling you where to find them. See,
by the way, David, I believe Otangelo is backstage waiting.
Yeah, I'll let you in a minute, Otangelo.
I just wanted to clarify, you did say that like 20 minutes ago. Just making sure.
At the very end is a list of notes where chapter 1 you have little footnotes, kind of like the Chicago manuscript thing, where all your bibliography is referenced chapter by chapter, just like this. And then at the end of the notes is the bibliography for everything. That's how it should be done. So if you want, I will volunteer to help edit your books.
Well, allegedly, Faithful, Honest, and True has edited at least a few of them, from what I heard. Which
What did
I don't
you
know
just
what.
drink, Neff?
I am drinking apple cider.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It does look a little bit like mud, but that's apple cider.
It looks like what?
It looks a little bit like mud.
Is it raw? Are you drinking it raw?
No.
Okay, I was about to say, oh.
100% with added ingredients. It's from Wakeman's.
I'm going to take this opportunity to say I'm going to head out. So,
All right, bye.
Have a good
thanks,
night.
Levian. Nice to meet you, Dapper Dino. Nice talking to you, Sal, and everyone else. So,
Yeah.
Take care.
Sal, why does it look like you're in the Matrix?
Antangelo left. I do apologize to Antangelo. But
I'm looking forward to that. But Sal, I want to know why it looks like you're in the Matrix.
Yeah, sorry, Antangelo. Feel free to come back in. Anyway, yeah, this is how. By the way, in case this is one of probably the best book on evolution that I've ever read. It's called "Evolving: The Human Effect and Why It Matters" by Daniel J. Fairbanks. He really goes through the evidence for evolution, but then he ties it into how the evolutionary model is used in science to help better our lives, such as how it's used in medicine, ecology, and all of that stuff as well. So,
Leophilus, I put my email in the chat. That way we don't have to. If you can email me, I look forward to talking quantum mechanics with you.
Right on. I'll make sure.
It'd be very educational for me, and I'm not here to try to prove a point. I'm here to just learn it.
Yeah,
I've forgotten it.
Yeah,
it is one of those that is just very, very interesting. Very interesting.
I feel like I've never known much about quantum mechanics. I've still forgotten a lot. There's just so much in there.
Oh, there is, especially when
It's
you start
fun
getting
to it's
advanced
fun to look
parts.
at, even
Like,
for laymen.
I still don't know much about WKB approximation. I still don't know much about perturbation theory. I know very, very, very little about scattering theory. So like I am by no means an expert in it, but I know some things.
Oh,
This
here's
would be a great opportunity for both of us.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The thing is that sometimes when you're getting through, at least when I was going through my program, my goal was just to answer the homework problem. I didn't necessarily understand what I was learning and reciting back on the exam. You know how it is that if a professor asks you a symbolic question, you can just respond in symbols. If you can manipulate them mathematically, it's like, I don't know what this really means. And I got through a lot of grad school that way, where I was just reciting what I saw. It didn't necessarily mean that I had
just do the algebra and who cares what they actually mean?
Yeah. Essentially.
Did anybody of y'all take business calculus?
What?
Business calculus?
Yeah, I mean,
no.
I was like, all my classmates were savvy enough to at least, if they say, okay, prove this theorem, it's like, yeah, we could do that because we can do the symbol manipulations. But it's like how this relates to the real world. Depending on your professor, we were so focused on the math, some of the details got lost. And it's only now that I'm studying chemistry and relearning it, I'm just like, oh, that's why quantum mechanics is important, because in chemistry, that's the first thing they say. When you look at an atomic, you say, what's the principal quantum number? It's like, okay, now it makes sense. So
yeah, all those sharing electron orbitals and all that energy states and binding energies and all that, all quantum stuff. And it's actually kind of crazy how good at chemistry humans got before ever getting an understanding of quantum mechanics. Because at this point now, it's like, how would you even do chemistry without quantum mechanics? I don't know.
Okay, there's the principal quantum number, which, if I remember correctly, I think that's the energy state of the electron.
Oh,
Then
goodness. See, this is why I need to restudy this, because for the principal quantum number, you can get the spin and then like the suborbitals, and then there's another one that you derive the spin. See, now I'm embarrassing myself. That's why I need to relearn this, man. Because
Sal, I don't think anyone thinks that you're embarrassing yourself by not knowing the details of quantum mechanics. My goodness, come on.
Yeah, I mean, even I don't know anything about quantum mechanics. I don't think I even know what a quanta is, even though we talk.
What was really cool in this book is they took Schrodinger's equation, and you could actually they showed how you could develop all the stuff in chemistry for the basic stuffs with like the principal quantum number and then the orbitals. It was just amazing that they were able to build it with these things called spherical harmonics. But I'm just like, man, that was really tough just to learn a little bit. So when we're in kind of high school and you see the Bohr atom, which is an approximation, it's like that took an awful lot of work to make that model. That was just brutal. A lot of brutal math to come up with that. So I do look forward. So do you see my email there, Leophilus? In the yeah, feel free to send me, and I really look forward to talking to you about it, because you seem like the one person that knew something of what he was talking about and was actually interested in the topic. So you got my respect.
I don't know why, but I have an interest in it. I guess it's just one of those things where this is one of those formulations that describes so much of reality so astronomically well. And I think it's in some senses a bit mysterious. Like, I mean, even the professionals will still say, we don't really understand what all this means. We know how to work the equations. We know how to solve for them and get results, but we don't really quite yet know what it all means. Hence the reason why we have different interpretations.
Yes. Anyway, didn't mean to derail the subject. I just wanted to make sure I got...
Well, I mean, the subject is a debunking. Well, here's one thing I want to say actually about Aaron Ra. I'm going to say it right. Goodness. I usually do get it right, but every once in a while. Anyway, Aaron Ra's Debunking the Flood series.
Yeah, I love
it's basically it's pretty good, but it also goes downhill the farther away from Aaron Ra's his sort of area. And I've said this publicly before. For instance, Aaron Ra is really, really, really bad at history. He's just really bad at it, and the closer he gets to it, the more annoyed I get with it. For instance, there was one time he did this debate about, has the church historically been in conflict with science? And I'm not going to, give my take on the actual resolution there, but I will say that virtually every single instance that he came up with from history of generally the Catholic Church being antagonistic to science was wholly incorrect in almost every detail that he gave.
Yeah, and
it was just embarrassingly bad. And then he doubled down on it later on, and it's just like,
yeah, Aaron Ra is one of those people who should stick to the science. I love Aaron Ra, but he should stick to science and to creationist. But there's several videos where I'm like, no, this is definitely not correct. And in fact, one of the things he got wrong in the debunking the flood series was in the archaeology series. He said Usher said the flood happened in the 1300s, but in reality it did not. And that's the first thing that Standing for Truth kind of addressed in this book. And that's one of the things I noticed that he got wrong. Hold on one sec, Stal.
Which actually makes so here's something I want to bump off people, not bounce around, like bounce around people. As far as like your take on this, especially actually Sal, because I think as someone with whom I have some fairly serious disagreements on about various scientific topics, I especially want his. I've been thinking about doing a few videos about common atheist myths about history, because my goodness, are there some bad ones?
Yeah, like one of the worst ones is that Jesus became God in the Council of Nicaea.
Almost everything that the sort of atheist on the street says about the Council of Nicaea is complete. The first Council of Nicaea, because no one even knows that there were more.
Yeah.
The first Council of Nicaea is almost always just incredibly wrong.
Yeah.
Like I hear things like Constantine presided over the council and made the decision. It decided which books were in the Bible. It was the council that invented the divinity of Jesus. And it's just like, all of these things are wrong. And it's not like it's hard to figure out they're wrong, because we have extant copies of the minutes of the council.
Yeah, and
like you don't have to go very far to find out what happened. We've got the actual note-taking from the secretary.
Yeah, and even Bart Ehrman, I like Bart Ehrman a lot, but even he gets some things wrong. But Martin Ehrman even I think has a couple of blog posts talking about Nicaea and the common myths about it.
So Sal, what would you think about me doing some let's debunk some of these weird sort of like anti-Christian myths about Christian history that pop up?
Yeah. I'm
not that interested in it. I mean, it's an important topic. It's mostly that I'm just so swamped. I probably need to do my quantum mechanics series before I do that.
I'm not asking for you to do. I'm saying, how would you appreciate it if someone who's not necessarily coming from an explicitly pro-Christian stance were to say, "Hey, look, you're getting these facts of history wrong, and these are facts about Christian history. And if you want to have the discussion about Christian history, you have to get it right. You have to get the basic facts right."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'd say that the same is true for any side of any discussion.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, it's just that I've done a lot of focusing, especially on Christian creationism, mostly because Muslim creationism is amazingly boring. You ever looked at creationist Muslim content? It's just
very boring.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Guy, look, any Muslims watching this, come up with an entertaining way to get across your ideas about creation if you want to, because oh my goodness, I would love to talk about it, but I fall asleep like 5 minutes into every single one of the Muslim creationism videos that I've ever watched. Yeah. It's terrible.
Same here. And but I know I am 100% for that. And I thought about making the series like that myself, like things I wish atheists would stop saying. That's what I mean.
Yeah. And I feel like,
and I 100% volunteer to help you in that series. If you want, I volunteer to help you. Write it. I'll gladly be on your channel doing it.
I may be interested in that because I'm the guy who, when I took Christian history in school, when the professor didn't know the answer to the question, he would check to see if I knew before we moved on, because usually one of us would know the answer.
Yeah.
So I was also the guy who called him out for his lecture on Christian art, starting with a Republican Roman statue as opposed to a Christian statue.
And that was a professor?
Well, so it was my professor, but he then said, "Yeah, I know it's a Republican Roman statue. I just really like the statue, and it's only in my, like my title card slide." I'm like, "All right, but like, I noticed, guy. Don't try to pretend that's a Christian statue. That's for Republican Rome, and they were pagans."
Yeah, exactly.
I know my Roman art history.
Yeah. Another thing that they get so wrong. Trying to think one of the things they keep saying that's wrong.
So there's a few things. One is like
the whole council night.
That's the biggest one.
Other things. I would say another thing that a lot of non-Christians get wrong about Christianity is Jesus mythicism.
Yeah, of course. But even Jesus mythicism is a very small group of people, and
it's growing.
It's really popular among
armchair
internet atheists.
Internet atheists who are not well educated on history or the historical method or biblical scholarship. Yeah. Because if you're well educated on any of those, there's really no good reason to think that the character of Jesus, as described in the Gospels, is not based on a character who existed as an actual person. Now, to what degree he did the things stated in the Bible, you know what? That's something that I'm not going to comment on because it's getting into the areas that I don't comment on. But mythicism is just the flat earth of atheism.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
There's just nothing to it.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree 100%. In fact, I think the whole Council of Nicaea could be a mini-series of everything they get wrong about Nicaea.
Well, actually, one thing that might be interesting is actually just a series or maybe 1 or 2 videos about the development of the New Testament canon and things like what were the actual controversies? Because I'll tell you, whether or not to include the Gospel of Thomas was never a controversy. Yeah. No one ever even vaguely considered it.
Yeah,
what was a controversy?
Is that one of the apocryphal Gospels, Gospel of Thomas?
Yeah, it's one of the ones that was just never ever even it was never even brought up in the discussion because it was so late that everyone knew that no one even had heard of it up until like the 3rd century. So it was just never any question that it would be included in there.
There's another big thing that I hate when I hear a lot of non-Christians say it is that, well, Christianity is based on pagan religions. I just facepalm immediately, like, no.
Oh yeah, that whole thing where it's like, oh, Jesus is a ripoff of like
all the other
Horus or something.
Mithras and Horus and
yeah.
Dionysus and all these other guys. It's
You know what my favorite thing about the Mithra bit though is that all of the sources cited to compare Mithraism with Christianity post-date Christianity.
That was so big a few years ago.
So if you want to argue that there's borrowing between Christianity and Mithraism, I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but you're going to have to argue that it's borrowing from Christianity to Mithraism, because while Mithraism and Christianity come about at about the same sort of time frame, the sources that we have that seem similar in terms of like the various rituals and stuff that Mithraists are doing that seem like they're similar to Christian rituals, all those sources come after our first post-biblical Christian sources. Now, does that mean it's impossible that Christianity borrowed from Mithraism? I mean, no, but do we have evidence of that? No, and the preponderance says that if there was borrowing, it was probably the other way. And also a lot of the Horus stuff, because there's a lot of things like, Horus had 12 disciples. I looked into that claim. Horus was once depicted on a tomb fresco with 12 farmers. Mm-hmm. That's where that comes from.
Yeah.
One time. Oh, sorry. Sal, what's up?
No, I have to take off. There's another conversation. I just wanted to say thank you very much, guys, for letting me join you all. And David, really, it's a pleasure. Dapper, it's nice talking to you again.
Yeah, by the way,
absolutely. Sal, you know what? We need to set something up. And it doesn't even have to be like a formal debate thing. We can just have a conversation if you want.
All right. Sounds cool, man.
By the way, I am thinking about hosting open mics regularly. What do you guys think about having me having open mics every Friday nights?
Yeah, I'd be
okay with that.
Yeah.
I can't promise I'll be there every Friday, but
same here. My Fridays are always up in the air for me, but like if I'm around and I am,
it's a good night because there's usually not a lot going on. If there's not something like on Modern Day Debate, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If Modern Day Debate has a show on Friday or whatever, then forget about it.
Right. That would make sense.
Unless it's an after show.
Yeah. I was going to ask you got anything upcoming that
Sunday night, I'm talking about protein probabilities. I'll be covering the topoisomerase and zinc finger proteins, common ancestry, and the problem of eukaryotic evolution and transmembrane proteins. Okay. At least that's what I'll try to fit in. Otherwise,
that's a lot of stuff to fit into one show.
I had a pretty good, long one last week. I tried to keep up, but it's hard for the ladies.
That's ambitious. I'll give you that, Sal. That is ambitious.
So we may go to 4 or 5 parts. I don't know. We'll just see how it goes. How the audience is able to.
I was about to say, Sal, it looks like you're in the Matrix, right? Because you got this weird green tint to everything. Yeah, so it looks like you just stepped into the Matrix. Are you going to come back to real life and have a real steak?
Yeah, it could be the camera, because this is
it probably is
each color here, and the lighting is yellow, but the way I do see it rendered on some of the YouTube screens, the coloring adds a lot of green tint to it. So maybe I figured it out, or maybe I need to fix my camera to add a lot more gold.
Sal is secretly an agent. I just figured it out.
Before you go, Sal, we'll be in touch. If we have a discussion, would you be okay? Because we could have it on my channel. I don't know how to do that yet because I absolutely refuse to use StreamYard. I will not use it. I do not like StreamYard, and I don't know how to do it.
I'll host it on my channel, one of my educational channels. Okay. I think it's called Pascal Academy, and we're just going to have a. You could probably tell I'm not wired. I really don't like doing a lot of confrontation because I have enough enemies in my life.
I hear that. I did want to ask, would you be okay with Immutable Destiny? I feel you might know what I'm talking about being there because he knows his math like that, and he does know a bit about quantum mechanics. So we're both
join us. That's fine.
And he has the David Griffiths textbook as well, so he would probably be able to help both of us out with some stuff because that guy knows his shit when it comes to math.
Okay, all right. But before you guys go, real quick, I just wanted to point this out. I just kind of flipped through his book and I saw this, and it just really, really made me disgusted. Sammy the vegan cat, his coat was so shiny, he had words. Is this like promoting dogs and cats are carnivores?
No, I can't on that one, guys. I have to not comment on that because I try to keep myself pretty PG-13, and vegan cats is one of those areas where I'm not going to be able to maintain that position.
This is one of the things that I'm like wanting to strangle you guys on. Like, no, cats and dogs are in the order carnivora. They are obligate carnivores. They need to eat foods.
So to answer Chris's question, sometimes Standing for Truth puts up, he'll assemble a meeting like kind of at the last minute. And I don't know how everyone gets to know that it's there. I mean, how do you guys get notified?
Oh, we're subbed to his channel and like
hit the bell.
Yeah, you can ring the bell like we were telling you before. Like you say, if you subscribe to my channel, so I gave you the link, you would hit subscribe, and then there's a little bell, and you have to make sure you click on that and then click all, and it'll go completely gray, dark gray, and that way you'll know that you're getting all notifications. So
well, assuming YouTube is on top of their game.
Is that the subscriber, or is that the channel host that rings the bell?
This is the subscriber.
You do.
Yeah.
Oh,
that
okay.
little bell that when you hit subscribe, you'll see it next to the subscribe button, and you sometimes when you hit it, like I have it ringed for David, it'll come up all, personalized, or none. Personalized tells you, I think you can get certain notifications depending on what it is. All means any video, premiere, live stream that they're doing, you will be notified for. They notify you 30 minutes before a premiere or a live stream happens, and then they notify you when it actually starts to air.
Which is good.
Okay.
That is.
I'll show you real quick.
All right, guys. It looks like I have to get going too. I just want to say it's been nice hanging out. I know I didn't do it a whole lot. And Sal, as always, it has been. I say as always as if we've interacted all that many times, but as last time, it has been a pleasure.
Anyway, Dapper Dino.
And it was nice meeting you for the first time, Dapper. I believe this is the first time we've
had
a
good hearing you talk, but I don't
conversation.
know if I've ever met you. Nice to hear you.
Yeah,
buddy.
but anyway, Dapper, I'm really honored for you to come on my channel. I'm a big fan of your stuff, so I'm really happy that you came on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It's not always easy to go slogging through metrics and data and analytics and all this stuff, but like when I get someone who I can actually look at and they say, thank you for your content, that really means a lot to me. But I'm gonna get out of here and Sal.
Before you go,
oh, sorry.
Just one thing I want to let you know. I don't want to keep it too long, but and this is for anybody that might be interested. Tomorrow I will be doing a video. I'm probably just going to upload it. I won't do it live stream or premiere, but it's going to be the first in a new series that I have, and it's going to be about the naturalism of the gaps or the materialism of the gaps, an attempt at making a fallacy and why that's not a fallacy and why that's not something that's wrong to do, just in case anybody might be interested. And I'm apparently large enough now that if you just type Leo Phileas in YouTube, my channel will pop right up. So
that's always
that video, that video will be, I'm hoping to get it up sometime between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time.
That is interesting to me. And I will say that generally speaking, when it comes to an unanswered question, I will usually say that there's likely to be a natural explanation, but I do have certain criteria for which, certain criteria under which I would say that there being a natural explanation is now less likely than it had been before. Yeah. So I do think that generally saying, you're just doing the materialism of the gaps is usually, that's wrong. But I can actually envision a circumstance where materialism would seem to have failed, given a hypothetical set of evidences. As far as I know, that hasn't happened, but it could. But I do have to get going, guys. I will talk to you all later. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dapper. I really appreciate you coming on. Bye-bye.
You are welcome. Bye.
Take care, buddy.
Would come back. I was looking forward to having a discussion with him because he seems to think that the laws of nature are prescriptive, and they're just not. To go ask any physicist in any department at any university, do the laws of physics tell reality what to do, or are they abstractions invented by humans to describe what it does? I would pay somebody $1 million if they found a PhD physicist that's not already a creationist that did not say the latter. And I want. Am I going to be having this debate with Stapler Boy at any point? We haven't heard back from him.
I keep hearing them talk about that on that, and I think Joe was trying to give him advice, and they were talking about. That's why I mentioned that question about open and closed system.
Get you guys.
So what was your question then about open or closed system?
Well, he was trying to argue it was closed system, and I think Lana had come in and because I think that maybe the confusion might have been dealing with entropy, but I mean because
the universe would be an isolated system.
Yeah,
Meaning
or
no
I,
matter or
Actually,
energy
it is
going through.
pretty
or
hard to
there's
make
something else that
electricity.
ends with equilibrium or something like. There's another way to I can't remember.
Thermodynamic equilibrium.
Yeah, that's another way you can
Yes,
state
you
it.
misuse it a lot.
Yeah, but what there's some things he was saying what I just knew was false just from when I studied in science. I was like, we're not. It's not technically a closed system because that is an argument that creationists will use for because it's open because the sun is providing energy in, and there is ways for for small particles and stuff, like dust and stuff to get out in and out of the universe, so technically it would, technically it would be open, right?
Yes, and also there is the law that if the energy is flowing through some system, the entropy in this system will decrease. There is some law and example.
Second law of thermodynamics.
Yes, it is addition to that added in 20th century.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if I could name the third law. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I should have typed third law of thermodynamics instead of just third law.
Yeah. I am getting tired.
Okay, it states that the entropy of a system at absolute zero is a well-defined constant. And that's because at absolute zero, the system exists in its ground states. So its entropy, is determined only by the degeneracy of that state. So yeah, that makes sense. S equals K log W, huh? So the entropy is equal to Boltzmann constant multiplied by the logarithm of the number of microstates. Yeah, interesting.
Well, that's why I stopped by this because I like to hear science sometimes, without the debate of creation and evolution all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Anyway,
I love science. We should all love science. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do, certainly.
Yeah.
I don't
Well, I
people
do.
think I do, but I do like it. I think it's useful. I think it's probably one of the most useful tools, if not the most useful.
And there's a
tool
lot of
for
cool
understanding
stuff,
reality.
man.
Yes.
To learn about.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to pop off here, David. I want to thank you for having me, buddy.
Oh no, absolutely. You're always welcome on my channel.
Yeah, and thank you. You're always kind. And Leo, for some reason, we can have a rational little conversation.
Yes,
It's great. I love it.
That's because you don't sit there and call me a degenerate piece of shit and a trash clown.
Well, I
and all
don't
these
think you
other
are
things.
one. So
Yeah.
we all have our faults, but I mean,
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Smokey would be reasonable to have a discussion with, quite reasonable, if he could just stop being so damn vitriolic. If he could just not do that, he would be pleasant to have a conversation with.
Yeah, like I was going to say, I think was it naturalism and theism y'all had a debate on, David? That was a really great debate.
Yeah, we did that, and we also
enjoyable.
had one on COVID-19, which I thought was really good.
I didn't catch that one yet, but I'll plan on it. But
Don't catch it.
I will. I always enjoy your stuff, David. Like I said, well, I have to say, I take it back. You're now you were the only atheist I've subscribed to, but I've added two now. I've got Knock and Org. Org is very honest and a great man. And
Yeah, I love Org. I love Org. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Okay, well, guys, take care. Have a good night.
Peace out, Chris.
All right.
Take it
Yeah,
easy.
you guys. All right, I'm getting tired. So, Leo, any last
It's
words?
almost midnight. Subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter.
Yep.
At Leophilius on Twitter.
Yep, and I'm at David Pneff on Twitter. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button down below. My channel has really taken off recently. I'm now at over 110 subscribers, so
that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I
think when I subscribed, you were at like 87 or 89 or something. You're at 116 now.
Yeah, I know. Keeps on coming, and I never really thought I would be able to get 100 subscribers, but here I am.
Yep.
I've
actually gained quite a bit. I mean, my last debate just this past Wednesday with Otangelo on the it's agree to disagree, and it's done by Conspiracy Cats and oh god, Creaky Blinder. I gained like over. I've been on there twice, and both times I gained over 30 subscribers.
I love Conspiracy Cats.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
But anyway, what were you debating on Tangelo on over there?
Abiogenesis versus intelligent design.
Let me guess, irreducible complexity.
Yep, that's all it was. The cell is literally a factory, and it's not. DNA is literally a code, and it's not. Just these things.
We just over and over again the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's general little spiel.
Yep.
Hi, but anyway, we have been going for over almost 3 hours now, and we still have 8 people watching. We still have 8 people watching in the sidebar as well. So, Yeah.
You had a good fill tonight, though. There was what,
Oh,
9
yeah.
or 10 people? No, eight or 9 people, I think, at max at one point.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm really impressed to see the Dapper Dino himself win the stream. But yeah, I kind of wish we could get Standing for Truth to come in the actual live stream.
Yeah. I wish Otangelo hadn't left, but
yeah, he left right as soon as I was about to add him in.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to tell you something off screen, off the air. So real quick, I'm gonna end the broadcast just a few minutes. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, and hit the like button down below. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.